You're listening to Well, I Laughed, Part 1 of Con Me Once, Fool Me Twice. How are you? Did you miss me?
Yeah, actually. I felt dumb about it, but...
About missing me?
Yeah.
Oh, what makes you feel any better? I'm sick of me.
I mean, I'm also sick of me.
No, okay, so can't wait for this to get published in 6 days.
Yep.
We almost never, ever fall that far behind.
Oh, yeah, we are so behind.
But a couple of things were happening, and then I left for the East Coast.
Yes.
We brought the team to a tournament on the East Coast, which was a lot of fun. We had 22 students, and just the number of students that this new job has is like something I'm getting used to. And then in addition to 22 students, myself and 3 other adults traveled with us. And then 2 more adults joined us on the East Coast who were connected to the school or the program or a friend of mine in some way. And that was really cool. But it was also exhausting to wake up every single morning and to be responsible for the daily schedule of like 26 other people, right? Because the students are like, when do we need to go? When do we need to be there? Like, when do we need to do all of these things? And the adults are like, where do you want me? When do you want me there? Like, how can I best support, right, as program director? And while that's wonderful and it helps keep everything on the same page, when I woke up the day after the trip, which was like, I think Monday, Tuesday of this week, I was like, I'm so glad that I want to go get a coffee, and the only person I have to consider right now was myself.
Yeah.
So
you came back and were like exhausted.
Yeah. I was like, still definitely down to record tonight because I know it's super important that we record. It's not like 5 hours though, right?
Yeah, that was the hint I needed where I was like, we could just not.
Here's the thing, I truly was preparing to like come do it, have a great time. I was going to do that thing where I dangerously mix wine with cold medication and just see what we produce.
Just see what happens.
Also, I feel a little tinny. Is it sounding okay with you?
It's sounding okay to me, but I can turn you down.
Okay, I'm going to try that now. I hate that more because it feels like it's taking my voice. I mean, it's not just been that long since we recorded.
No.
Cool.
You are, like, I can tell that you're sick, and maybe that is affecting
I don't think I am anymore, though.
Well, you sound a little sick.
Even before I recorded?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. But is it good or no?
You just sound a little stuffy, and I feel like that maybe is making your voice.
I've suffered 2 catastrophic allergy attacks in the last week, but that's fine. Tell me about your life.
I'm not saying that's a bad thing.
I am. Although,
okay.
because obviously you do a lot of talking when you go on a speech trip, right?
What?
Especially when every time anyone wants to do anything, they have to kind of like talk to you about it.
Oh,
so I came back in on Tuesday and I just had like this real, like roughly like low voice. And I couldn't really get really loud because my voice had been stretched. And a student, one of our freshmen goes, "Hey, are you okay, mister?" And I go, "Yeah, why?" He goes, "Oh, you just kind of sound really serious today." And so I looked at him and I go, "Hey, I'm sorry my vibes are weird today. Like, that's not fun. No, I'm fine. Thank you, kiddo."
Oh, I mean, sweet of him to check in.
Oh, yeah. I think also he was like, "You mad at me?"
Yeah.
Okay, so you don't know? Okay, cool.
Okay, cool. So you're not. Okay, great. So the last time we recorded was when we recorded Jacob's episode.
Right, I was listening to it on the car right here.
Like insane to me. A lot has happened between now and then.
Yeah.
I am a wed woman.
She is married.
And I think no, I didn't because I can't. We're fine. Okay. I'm just like, it's so weird not recording for so long because everything that has become habit, I suddenly have to think about again. And I'm like, how do I record a podcast? So I got married. The photos are on my Instagram if anyone is curious. I was going to go into more detail about the elopement, but I've had to tell every single family member the same story a lot of times. So, I mean, we were wed in the mountains.
Go ahead.
Are you realizing that you never sent me something?
No, I'm realizing that. What? I'm realizing I have something in my office chair right now at my home
no.
that I was supposed to bring you.
Okay, good.
And
I just saw the.
Sorry, keep going.
Okay. Our dog signed our wedding certificate because Colorado allows that, because technically you don't legally need a witness for your wedding. And so we said our vows over at Blue Lakes, which is underneath Quandary Mountain, which is one of Colorado's 14ers, and it was very pretty. And then we came down and had a nice dinner with everyone in Breckenridge that was there. So it was Alexandra and Kelsey and their respective partners. So Eggy was there.
I hope you guys got wings afterwards.
No, we had a really fancy
Okay.
dinner.
That's good too.
Yeah.
But there's always kind of that image of like, well, I guess I'll just go back to being a gross human now.
Really kind of wanted to go down to Oktoberfest in my wedding dress, because I did go to dinner in my wedding dress, but Oktoberfest in Breck closes at like
Boo.
5.
We hate that. Boo.
Yeah.
They hate fun. Well known fact.
I was like, what the hell? And then, dear Grant, as I'm going to show you this video, and then I want you to describe what's happening.
Okay.
As we were walking out of the restaurant, oh Jesus, I updated my phone and now everything's hard. Okay. As we were walking out of the restaurant, I see something in a tree.
What?
And so I take a video.
I'm calling someone. No, I'm kidding. Is that a raccoon?
Yeah, it's a raccoon climbing up in a tree in downtown Breckenridge.
I love how to our listeners, I'm pierogies and you are raccoon.
Yeah, I am raccoon. So I just thought that was funny.
I love it.
I now feel spiritually connected to raccoons. Also, okay, recently in the last couple days.
No, hold on. Are we still on your wedding?
No.
Okay, so
You
then
can-
I want to,
yeah,
before
you
we
go.
move on. So there's 2 things I'm going to give you.
Mhm.
I guess kind of 3, but so the thing that's at my house is a gift from the East Coast
Oh,
that I got
yay.
you. You're going to love it, and I won't say anything else about it.
I love souvenirs.
As you will, especially this one. Second, I'm going to give you a gift in 2 parts.
Oh God.
And I'm so glad you mentioned. You're like, are you just now realizing that you forgot to send me something? Because I decided the thing I wanted to send you, I'd actually rather read it to you live on the air.
Oh fucking hell.
Do I have that permission?
Yeah, that's fine.
So then the third gift will be I will then type this up and like give this to
Aw,
you. I mean, it's
cute.
typed up already, but it's going to be like in cute
Fancier.
font, like street
Yeah.
poet or whatever. Okay.
Okay.
It's about you and Casey
Oh, this is
getting
so cute.
married.
Marriage.
The title, definitely written in my notes app, okay? Like, you can cook in that app. Don't come for me. The title of this little guy is titled Fish and Love.
Oh.
So I don't know if you've heard, but there are these little fish in the middle of the Western desert. And you both share a lot in common. You both prove that love is essential for survival and that it can look however you want it to. And also, like those fish, love sits on top of some unknowing deep.
Whoa.
I couldn't miss your reaction to this. Sits on
I
top.
have like hives.
I know you do. Sits on top of some unknowing deep, waiting to be explored but never conquered.
Oh my God.
I wish you both all the joy in the world, our big, wonderful, and mystifying world. And I count myself lucky to bear witness to it
Oh.
from afar and across the table. To love and you and fish, but mainly you two.
Aw.
Cheers.
Cheers. That was so sweet.
Yeah, thank you.
You'll have to read it again to Casey. When
Oh,
he
I
gets
know.
Back. Yeah.
I know. Oh, do you want us to play the video where you just laughed during your entire wedding poem? Is that what
It
you
was
want?
cute.
No, I know it was.
I
And
liked it.
I wouldn't have wanted you to hear it or
Yeah.
react to it any other way. Because I was like, let's fuse my 2 favorite things, Maia and scaring the shit out of her.
That was really sweet. I really liked that.
That night we asked you and Casey to just meet us downstairs.
Yeah.
So I read that to Jacob and Lydia, and I was like,
Okay.
notes.
You want to know? So I knew that you were doing something with Jacob and Lydia
Right.
in relation to the elopement.
Right.
Because that's the only reason you would ask Casey and I to leave the table.
Correct.
Casey did not put that together. it was like the first night in Breckenridge where I was like, I'm a little stressed out about whatever Grant told Jacob and Lydia. And he was like, oh, I didn't think that was in relation to us. And I was like, why?
Isn't his world so beautiful?
I know. I was like, Grant has told me things I wish I could unhear.
Yeah, well, that's the price of being my friend.
I know, exactly. I was like,
that's the price of being our listener, right?
He's not going to ask us to leave unless it has something to do with us.
Yeah. So one, it was like, I need your notes, Jacob and Lydia. And that's why she's
really
recently
cute.
Also been like, yeah, he's been real poetic lately, which again just feels like a slur.
It really does.
And second, and you know this.
Yes.
Jacob and Lydia have the printer. Where else am I going to get it printed?
Oh, yeah, that was also the last time, or one of the last times I saw you before we got married. I hadn't actually proposed to Casey, and the plan was always to propose to Casey before we got married. And so I wanted to reverse propose to him just to like show him how much I cared and everything like that. And it was supposed to happen shortly after I got engaged. And then the podcast happened because I got engaged around the same time the podcast released, and then the podcast blew up pretty quickly.
And also, like, our first episode recording was on your last Valentine's Day as boyfriend girlfriend.
Yeah. And then we were moving, and then it was like, and there was always something, and so I just never had time to finish the plan. And the plan had always been from the get-go to like make a custom board game for Casey, and the board game is like the game of life, but it's like specific to Casey and I's relationship. And so I got nervous and made Grant do a test run of it with me beforehand, and that was fun.
It was super cute. If you want to make a board game, especially for your significant other, talk to Maia.
Also make an Excel spreadsheet. That's how I did it. I detailed exactly where both of us would land the entire game.
And so when that's not what was happening during her test run with me and she was getting stressed, I was like, yeah,
exactly. Okay, so Casey, literally within the last 2 days, has started doing this thing where he's like intentionally singing song lyrics wrong, but I don't know if it's actually intentional or if he just knows the tune and the tune is stuck in his head and he's just putting words to it. For example, the one that'll piss you off is literally today, he came downstairs and just was going H-O-G-G-O-G-O, and I was like, no.
Hog it?
A go?
Oh, it's been at least 18 days since someone's told me that.
I was like, what? And I don't even think he processed that it was wrong until I made him like sound it out, and now he will not sing it correctly.
Correct. Right.
And then last night, I don't even know what song this is. I'm like sitting in bed researching or finishing up research for this story, and I see Casey come upstairs and like go into this office, and he's just kind of humming, and then he starts singing. He's like, I wanna be sedated.
What song is that?
I don't know. He's very sure it's
I
a
want
real
you
song.
to know I don't think it's a song.
He like had a whole like he was like,
I think
it's
he's
like
wish
dance.
casting. I want a 3-month coma. Wake me up in time for Thanksgiving. It comes off the tongue really easily. It's nice.
He can't be the one that wants to be sedated. I'm the one that wants to be sedated.
My mom had a friend who, there's this song where the chorus goes, Philadelphia Freedom. But it's like, Philadelphia Freedom. She only heard it on the radio because it was like before times or whatever. And she always sang it as feel a dove for your freedom.
I love that.
Feel a dove for your freedom. Which, if the radio is loud enough, no one's noticing the difference.
You can't tell. That's this song by Nickelback, I think.
Look at this photograph.
Have you seen the other versions of that?
No, but I've seen like a 3-second video of them going, look at this photograph. And then just like a photo.
Have you seen, look at this graph?
No, girl. I didn't go to college for STEM. I did not.
There's one.
I watched the Katy Perry's I Want to See Your Peacock video like 3 times for gay subtext on my own.
There's another.
I did not watch. Look at this graph.
It's really funny. There's another YouTube video, though, that's just like all of the different things that you can make sound like that. It's like, oh, wait, no, what is it? Living on a prayer. Instead of look at this photograph, living on a prayer. And then it's like, wizard on a chair. Lipstick on a pear.
I'm not here to judge you because I know one night when you were doing whatever that was, you got the idea of doing a podcast with me.
Yeah.
But what? What? Not to say I'm better than you, but I have been doing actually so much reading at night, and it's been so good.
You are
And
a lot better than me.
I just finished my 12th book of the year.
That's crazy.
I don't know if I read 12 books in my 20s. I just finished my 12th book of the year, and I'm doing that thing where you do when you finish a book and you've lived in that world for a little bit, where you kind of have to like cool off and let your like palate go neutral again before you can like get into a new world. Also, I just like sobbed for 10 pages there towards the end. I won't say why, but read Big Gay Wedding by Byron Lane, I think is his name. If you just type in Big Gay Wedding Byron, it's great. But just like actively sobbed. Like I'm mad at the author for making me
you feel emotions.
Yes.
Yep.
That I took a shower afterwards. I was like, my face is so swollen. I can't go to bed like this.
Okay, this video is a minute long. You're just gonna have so much joy.
When does the joy start? This is every single listener we have has introduced our podcast to somebody, and this has been their exact experience. Because we just sit down and yap for 30 whole minutes.
Yeah.
We take 30, your morning commute is what's happening in our stupid little lives. And then at lunch, you start to hear the mystery or the story that we have for you. And that has been every single one of our listeners' reactions when trying to get someone else to listen to us.
We're like, no.
What?
Okay, this is the last story I have for today.
I have a couple, but
Okay,
great.
cool. I mean, I'm just saying what I have.
Great.
Grant? Jacob and I had our side quest.
Oh my God, yes. And I love it because, and I've said this before, and it's a little mean, but it's all said in love and jest. But it's like finding out like two of the people in our friend group who aren't usually someone who like are together go off and do something. Like I think one time Sophie and Casey had an adventure together, Jacob loves being the B plot of an episode. Like he loves nothing more than to have a little adventure going on. And so, I mean, you're a main character, but this is a pairing that does not happen a lot.
It was so funny.
Tell me more. And tell me why.
Ain't nothing but a singing podcast.
One of my sophomores can do that. All right, so we were talking about the ballot that she'd gotten recently, and she was like, "Tell me why, mister. Tell me why, blah blah blah." And she was like trying to like be complaining about something, but I was absolutely raccoon brained at that moment. So I just went, "Tell me why, ain't nothing but a heart." And then she started to just start singing too, and so then I went, "Tell me why."
Number 3. Take the chorus.
Exactly. By the time we got to the end of the street, we were no longer talking about speech.
And that's jazz.
What? I did a lot of this weekend of like, hey kiddo, I'm real concerned about our capacity for this entire season. If we can't even celebrate the wins. And because this is a new school, these kids aren't used to me talking in like weird poet verse when they like have a real issue. So one of my juniors just went,
What?
Are you okay, so I need to like be happy now or I won't make it to the end of the season? Yeah, kind of something like that. Okay. Tell me why. What were you and Jacob doing?
I'm not going to go into all the details, and you can read into what I just said however you will. But Jacob and I went to Meow Wolf. If you're on YouTube, there is a large cat dog. If you're a member of our Patreon, you know the stick fiasco that happened with Jacob.
Wait, was that just on the Patreon episode?
I might make it a reel because it's just so funny. Stick. I have a total of 3 images that I took during that entire quest, and one of them is a picture of the like actual installment that the stuffed animal is based off of. And Jacob and I, we were just kind of like towards the end of our journey, our trip, if you will.
Sure.
We were looking at this creature thing, and Jacob just starts giggling and he goes, stick. And I like lost it, and I took a picture and sent it to Grant and Jacob.
Yeah,
with
across the
stick.
country and across very different time settings. I'm in like an old building on this like elite college on the East Coast. And I'm like, no, here's what we got to do in the second contention. Okay, so when they hit you with trade, we got to try to do a turn. What the fuck did I get? My end. Hit him with... 2 days later, I'm commuting this like congregation of students back, and I just get this text message from Maia that goes, "I'm actually really upset that I didn't play better. I need my roses."
Yeah,
which you always boo me for, but when you need your roses,
funny.
You need them.
I know. It was so funny.
No, it like legitimately is very funny, and I'm so glad that stick conversation was so like traumatic for you that it like formed a new type of joke for you.
It wasn't even me is the thing. I kept forgetting about it. It's Jacob that kept bringing it up. That's like the second or third time he's done that, just like completely out of the blue. Yeah, it was before the debate when we had that watch party. He was like, we were just sitting in their living room, and he just goes, "So that lamp you see over there, stick?" And I was like, "What are you talking?"
Like 8
about?
people who are listening know the context,
Yeah.
So that's good.
Okay. So there's a bunch of things that happened at Meow Wolf. If you've never been to a Meow Wolf, it's like an art installation. I think the first one was in Santa Fe, and it's all very like psychedelic like art. And each Meow Wolf is different, and so there's like a journey in all of them. And the one in Denver is called Convergence Station, and the kind of story is that like all of these worlds are converging, and there's all these different things you
Perhaps
can do.
an unreliable narrator for this part of the story, friends.
Yeah. And so if you get like this little card thing, you can go through and like scan all of these things, and it'll give your like little card all these memories, and you're like trying to solve this kind of mystery, right? And at one point, Jacob and I are like in this library looking thing, and I go up to scan the card, and I'm the one that had the card, so I was scanning it on all the things. And a lot of times when you scan it, it'll just give you like, you received a memory, and then that's it. And then other times it'll play you like a whole video and like tell you, like give you more detailed hints. And so I started playing a video, and Jacob's like nowhere near me. And so I just turn around, I'm like, "Jacob, we have a job to do." And he's like, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry." And he like comes over as he does.
I've seen that little like hop jump that he does. Yes.
And so he came over, and then we watched the thing, and I was like, "What were you even doing over there?" And he was like, he looked at me and was like, "So I was trying to figure out my zodiac sign, and then it got really complicated when someone stole one of their sons." And I was like, "I'm sorry, what?"
Because he's probably a double Taurus.
Probably. I don't know. But the thing was, every time I left Jacob alone, I would like come back to him, and he would say the most insane sentence. I can't even remember half of them.
That's been like the last 13 years. Like when he speaks, you're like, "Everyone shut up, everyone shut up."
What are you?
Go ahead. I've even started to notice like when he has a thought, but like the conversations we've been on, because he's not one to interrupt like literally every single one else, the rest of us.
Yeah.
I'll be like, "Interesting. Sorry, real quick. Jacob, did you have something you wanted to say about all of that?"
Tell me.
Exactly.
There was another thing. I think my takeaway from Meow Wolf is that everyone is just an iPad child, and like you can put people in a situation that is just absolutely crazy, and they'll recognize the normalcy of it and then find that and latch onto it. Like there's a movie theater, a fake movie theater inside Meow Wolf. So you go in and you can sit down and you stare at the screen, and it plays these movies, these like short. None of them make any sense, listener. Like none of them.
They're not supposed to.
They're not supposed to. But everyone comes in and is like really quiet and like doesn't want to disturb anyone else's viewing of it. And they're like, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry." And then everyone wants to like, and it's like, why are we acting like this? There's no reason for us to all be so cordial and polite and act like this is a real movie theater.
Down in front. Sorry. Oh, did you want to sit here in this thing that I paid the exact same price to be at? Yeah, sorry. Go ahead. Take my seat. Go ahead. Sorry. I shouldn't exist. You're right. I'm so sorry.
Jacob and I had this moment where
like
we were
everyone's like bowing to each other a little bit. Sorry.
We had this moment where we were like, people were coming in, and it was the middle of one of the short films, and we were like, "God, you don't even like understand. Like, how disrespectful of you to walk in the middle of this showing."
Oh, you guys had a great time.
Yeah.
Oh, you guys had a hootenanny. A time and a half over there. Real busy.
There were 2 times that we spent in this movie theater. The first one was just like a really weird Adam and Eve thing. And then the second one was like this like beautiful little animation about this like thumb person, but it also like it was like maybe a rock with a face. I'm not sure.
I don't need to hear about that.
Yeah.
I don't need to.
We're all just like so in it, and it's like not that it really makes sense, but you're like you feel for this rock. I don't like he's
Yeah, I've also seen Everything Everywhere All at Once.
yeah, a little bit. But there's these two couples that were obviously on like they're like older, but it's clear they're on like a double date, but it's like husband and wives, you know.
Fun.
And they come in a little bit after Jacob and I, and we're all watching this like rock go through its life, but it's like an animation and whatever. And you know, you like have these moments of lucidity where you're just like, what am I watching? And in one of those moments, the couple in the second row leans forward to the couple in the first row and just goes, I only take you to the nicest of places.
Good. And I've always said that.
Incredible timing. And then the last really fun thing is that I have a theory that no one ever intentionally goes to become a fire marshal. I'm convinced.
What?
I'm convinced.
I want you to know that you have like held the floor for like 12 minutes now, and I love
know.
it. But every single thing has been a surprise to me.
It's Meow Wolf.
Okay. It's a little bit like having someone talk to you about their dreams, but you can go visit it physically.
Yeah, it's just very strange.
Okay.
So I'm convinced no one actually becomes a fire marshal. I'm convinced Meow Wolf is a trap to become a fire marshal. Because...
No, I'm going to let you go ahead and say your words.
So, at Meow Wolf, they really encourage you. It's like a playground for adults.
Is it expensive buying all of that aluminum for your crazy conspiracy theory hats?
I'm not done. You'll agree with me when I'm done. It's an adult playground. They really encourage you. There's like secret doors and stuff. And so they encourage you to like open everything and like really like touch everything. It's not like don't touch this, and like you're trying to find all those secret doors.
Touched.
Yes.
Yeah. And the doors that aren't secret doors, they're just like mechanical doors, are like dead bolted shut. Like
impossible.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I reach over and I see a handle and I'm like, maybe there's something in here, and I open it and something starts alarming and I close it and it's a fire extinguisher.
Did you spray a little?
No.
Did you squirt? Did you make it ink?
It opens a little, and it's very clear that this happens all the fucking time because literally the second you open it, it like, and you close it and everything's fine. But then it became a joke between me and Jacob that we're going to find all of the fire extinguishers in this place and open every single one.
Dear listener, you're only supposed to spend like up to 3 hours at Meow Wolf. And knowing these two and the kind of work that they do, I'm sure they went in at like a 10 a.m. and then had a really nice late lunch, early dinner, kind of blue hair special by the time they left.
We were there from like 12:30 to like 4:30, something like that. At one point,
this is a work day, right? This is like
this
a Friday.
A Sunday.
Okay, that's better. I'm like, I'm so sure. It's literally what I imagine you guys are doing when I am like fighting for my life at work.
No, it was Sunday. At one point, I do it like alarms and I close it, and then there's like a child behind me. It's like not like a child, like a teenager who just like busts out laughing, and then he does it, and I look at Jacob and I'm like, I must stop because that kid's not gonna do it.
Yeah.
And then so we keep going. We find all of them. At some point, we're like trying to find our way around to like some of the newer stuff, but we keep kind of ending up in circles, and so we just keep adjusting the same fire extinguishers.
Hold on. Have we been here before? Beep, beep. Yeah, we've definitely been here before.
and then I open one and it doesn't alarm.
And so you get a free fire extinguisher.
And Jacob and I are like, what do we do?
I think you have to report that.
I know. But neither of us were in a place to talking to anyone.
Still
but
real
each
busy,
other.
chasing down all those leads. Mm-hmm.
And so
I love this city. No, listen, Denver's not like any other city in the country, for good or for bad. Denver, and like whenever people say that, what they mean is that the locals are violent. That's not true in Denver. Denver, it's like it's like Portland's older brother who got a job in business, you know?
So anyway, the fire
Sure,
extinguisher
sorry, was
didn't
that-
alarm.
And you have a
And
fire
I'm pretty
extinguisher
sure that's
now.
how you end up as a fire marshal. It was a horrible sound.
Listener, that was the sound of a wine glass being brought so close to my face it accidentally hit the muffler outside the microphone.
So anyway, I think that's how you become a fire marshal. I did go back and tested it again and opened it a little bit further, and it did alarm. And Jacob and I were like, "Perfect, we're leaving."
Wait. So you did a lap, came back, opened it again. No wonder you guys were there for 5 hours. What was I going to say? Something about something. Oh yeah, I'm so sorry that I wasn't here to like listen to these stories immediately.
So fun.
Thank you for waiting.
Oh, we need to talk. Jacob and I should talk to you because I'm sure he remembers things that I don't, and it'll just be funny for you to hear it all. I do want to show you the only 3 photos I took during that day.
I'm going to just have one story, and then we'll
Oh, yeah.
listen to my story. I've loved this.
Photo number 1.
Oh.
Don't even describe that.
I wouldn't.
A behemoth.
Yeah.
And then the second one's actually a video.
I know exactly where this is.
And there's like this spot in Miawa where you have to like crawl under this thing, and then you poke your head up, and you see all these like cows and stuff, and you can also see the other people that are poking
I
their
can't
head
wait
up.
for you to listen to that little sentence that
I
you
know.
just said when you're editing
It's
this.
very. I'll put the video in the YouTube, and then the last photo is Stick.
The similarities, terrifying. All right, so I'm going to share this last
Okay.
story, and then we'll hear today's episode.
Yes.
I'm going to tell you this.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to give you a little think time as I take them along, and then we're going to circle back to what your answer is, okay?
Okay.
Last time I saw you.
Oh Jesus, I didn't do my homework.
Okay. I've gotten that look so many times. Okay, class today. Shit. Cool. So you go and think about that. Everybody else. So new school, new coworkers, but new group of students really. And again, it's speech and debate. So I'm like the emotional support adult for them, right? Like we spend an unhealthy amount of time together already. But I'm still like a new person to them, and they're still a new person to me. So they're still learning aspects of my personality, including the fact that I am just like routinely, horrifyingly a joyful person, like in all settings, right? And they're not used to that. Like we took a red-eye flight to the East Coast, and we landed at like 5 a.m. East Coast time, which was 3 a.m. Denver time.
No.
And they had to gather at the airport at 10. So they're all just dead tired of the world. And I'm like, okay, y'all, ready to go? Let's go have some fun, right? Just absolutely losing my mind. And then they kept experiencing that like over and over and over again. And so at the end of the trip, we came up with this like little game. And the game was, you're that celebrity that's having like their week, right?
Mm-hmm.
Architectural Digest is coming over to do a video of your home. You're about to do 78 questions with Vogue magazine or whatever the number is. And the New Yorker or New York magazine is doing a profile on you. What is the headline of your New York magazine headline? I said headline twice there. Let me say it one more time. What's the headline of your New York magazine like profile article? Mine is Grant Thomas is having a good time, which is true. Like I'm just always kind of always jazzed to be there, you know? So Maia, what's yours?
Does it have to have my name in it? Is that part of the?
I think it depends. You can add it for like if it sounds better on the ear.
Okay.
I gave you literally 48 hours and then think time and dragged out my like preface to the
Oh,
story.
I know the vibe I need it to go to, but
Okay.
I am trying
I would love
to
to help workshop
word it out.
What's the vibe?
Do I need sleep, coffee, or food?
Maia Warner, recently committed and undecided.
Yes.
Yeah,
Perfect.
There we go.
Yeah,
there we go.
Yeah.
That works. It's
Yeah,
a
that
little,
works.
as Liddy would say, you're a little poetic lately. All right. Well, I'm ready to rock and roll. Are you ready to rock and roll? I can't wait to hear this. I'm nervous for the first sentence. I don't think we did the same story.
Okay. I do have one thing before. It's like part of my notes, but it's like not part of the story.
Okay. Today's theme, this next 3 episodes,
Con me once.
Con Me Once.
Okay. This first thing that I'm going to talk about has nothing to do with Con Me Once. It's just it's fun in the world of true crime news. Have you heard anything about Louis Armando Albino?
Why do I feel like I have? Yeah. Does he have an alias? Is there a certain different way we know about him?
I don't think so.
Okay.
This story broke on September 24th. I think
Of this year?
of this year.
Oh, so like 2 days ago?
Yeah.
Oh, then definitely
Yeah.
not.
So this is.
Is that P. Diddy's full name?
Dear God, no.
Wait, is that Eric Adams' full name? He just got arrested for corruption.
This man didn't get arrested, and
okay.
he's elderly and actually has kind of a sad story.
Oh, I'm going to stop guessing.
Yeah. Louis Armando Albino, he was 6 in the year 1951.
So he was born in 1945.
He was born in 1945, which then makes him like in his 70s? No. 80s. So 60, 70, 80. Yeah. Something like that. I don't know. He's older.
He's like almost exactly 80, I think.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Don't come at me for my math. I'm not pulling out a calculator and doing it. And I'm also anyway, okay. This Louis Armando Albino, the reason I know that he was 6 in the year 1951 is because he was abducted.
Oh, shit.
At 6 years old in 1951, he was abducted from a California park. And since then, his mother had spent decades trying to find him, keeping his story alive. She is from Puerto Rico, and so she was convinced that someone had kidnapped him and taken him to Puerto Rico, maybe. And the entire family was like in this constant search for him. And it's not super common that when a child is abducted, they don't either find the child or find remains. Right. And so this case went cold, essentially, until the year 2020. When his would-be niece did a DNA test and found out that she had a 22% DNA match with a man that she had never met, who lived on the East Coast. And she gave that information to the Bureau of Missing Individuals or whatever it is and asked them to like look into it in relation to the case of her missing uncle. And they ended up talking to this man and getting a DNA test, and his name was Louis Armando Albino. And he had always been told that he was born of another couple. He was like adopted essentially by his parents. The people who had raised him, I'm not sure if it's the same people who had kidnapped him, had transported him to the East Coast where he had grown up, essentially.
So he was alive the entire time.
He was alive the entire time, and they've just now been reunited this year with his family.
His mom is obviously
His
passed.
mom has passed, but he has vague memories of that cross-country road trip. And he does remember his brother because he was with his brother at the time of his abduction.
Okay.
And coincidentally, they both like spent time in the military, were in the Marines.
He and his brother. Mm-hmm. But they didn't take them both at the same time.
No.
They only took the younger
They only
one.
took Louis. Yeah. But yeah.
Oh my God.
Isn't that crazy?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Beyond crazy.
It's crazy because he probably didn't really even know that, like...
Listen...
Like,
you're 81. Do you want to know that?
I do. I know that you don't.
But here's the thing. In this scenario, I don't. I might want to know it.
Especially because he had vague memories of it.
Yeah, if it helps fill in a puzzle there at the end.
Mm-hmm.
But
my
God.
Yeah, they had a family reunion for the first time. 73 years later. Mm-hmm. Apparently his abduction is now under like more investigation. In June of this year, Albino flew to California to meet his relatives for the first time, and that trip was funded by like the OPD investigations, the Oakville Police Department, and I think it's Oakville, I might be wrong, FBI victims advocates, and It was emotional, and when he hugged his niece for the first time, he kissed her on the cheek and said, "Thank you for finding me."
Aww.
Yeah.
So he's grateful for it.
Yeah. Not
Wow.
crazy.
That's a nutso story.
Yeah. True crime is wild, bro.
Yeah, DNA tests are wild.
The DNA tests are wild.
I don't think anyone in my family has done a DNA test, but there's a certain branch of our family that I wouldn't be shocked to find some loose relations to, you know?
I know that Casey's mom has always kind of been like, I don't know if she said like don't take a DNA test, but she's
Right.
definitely been like, if you take a DNA test, I don't know if I want to know.
Right.
You know, and so I'm really interested to see. So I didn't really finesse the beginning of my story for Con Me Once.
Here's the thing. My story, which we're recording on like 48 hours,
Yeah.
highly finessed. And I am so excited to talk to you about my story.
Okay.
So I'm really scared what you're about to say.
If I start, I'm just going to read you a list of commandments, if you will.
Okay.
Okay, we
Feeling
didn't do the same story.
increasingly confident that we
didn't
did
do
not
the same story. These are 10 rules, and I'm going to have you guess. I'm going to have you guess what commandments are there for. Number 1, be a patient listener. Number 2.
You heard that? Like our listeners? Be a patient listener.
I said one
Did you hear
thing.
that?
And number 2, never look bored. Number 3, wait for the other person to reveal any political opinions, then agree with them. Number 4,
Wait, go ahead.
let the other person reveal religious views, and then have the same ones. Number 5, hint at sex talk, but don't follow it up unless the other person shows a strong interest.
Okay. Can I pause you here?
Yeah.
So, second one, which was like political affiliation, then, right,
Yeah.
agree. Third one, religious affiliation, then like agree. I'm immediately like Project 2025, talking to young conservatives about how to try to convert them into their evil fascist schemes. And then you were like, sex talk, but only if they're open to it. And I was like, well, I mean, like they are kind of gross in that way, but I don't know if consent is something that they are ideologically super worried about. So I'm less convinced that it's Project 2025.
It's not Project 2025.
Okay, that was my first guess. Logic. I want the record to show.
Yeah. Good. Okay, number 6, never discuss illness unless some special concern is shown.
Illness. Okay.
Number 7, never pry into a person's personal circumstances. Parentheses, they'll tell you all eventually.
Okay, so we're definitely talking about a cult.
No. Number 8, never boast. Just let your importance be quietly obvious. Number 9.
Is this Andrew Tate's documentary?
No. Number 9, never be untidy. Number 10, never
Is this Mormonism?
Number 10, never get drunk.
Oh,
no,
shit,
it's
is
not
it?
Mormonism. I was about to laugh and be like, ha, no. And then I was like, well, number 10.
Well, Jeannie, I think that's all my wishes.
Okay, I'm going to read to you how some journals described him, the person that I will be talking about.
Okay.
I need to make sure that, because I didn't actually... Okay. He was described by the Milwaukee Journal as a storybook character. He was described by a Secret Service agent as, quote, as elusive as a puff of cigarette smoke and as charming as a young girl's dream. He was described by the New York Times as, quote, he was not the hand-kissing type of bogus count. Too keen for that. Instead of theatrical, he was always the reserved, dignified nobleman.
Are we doing a spy episode?
No. Described by True Detective as a man who, quote, society took by one hand and the underworld with the other, a flesh and blood Jekyll Hyde.
Oh, Jesus. I'm out of guesses.
We're covering a con man.
Right, I don't know, but which one?
Victor Lustig.
Who?
Oh, you're gonna fucking love this story. Will you do me a favor and bring that blanket closer to her so that she can burrow without knocking everything over. Or jumping into your lap.
I'll just sit on your lap if that's okay.
Yeah, she's right here.
Exactly.
Okay.
Okay, Victor
Lustig.
Sure.
So one of those quotes that I just read to you was described him as a bogus count, because this is Count Victor Lustig. He had do I want to say that now? No, I don't. Okay.
This is going to be such a wild theme.
Yeah.
Because the details that you're revealing right now could not have fewer parallels to my story if you tried.
Perfect. When you said that you already had an idea, and you got it from our email or something, I panic Googled in our email for very specific keywords, and nothing came up, and I was like, nah, well.
You have no idea what I might be doing?
No, I have no idea.
I need you to not be in our email for the next 48 hours under any circumstances.
Don't read our emails unless they come from TikTok or something, so you're fine. Or it's an email I'm expecting.
Cool, but for reals, I want you not in it at all for the next 48 hours. Can you do that?
Yeah.
Cool.
Okay.
Cool. Can I have some wine? Keep going. No, talk about Victor.
Well, I need some as well.
You're like, before you drain it, you lush. My weekend has started.
Yeah. So Victor Lustig was born January 4th, 1980 in or maybe it was 1890 is what I meant to say. Yeah, go for it. January 4th, 1890. Which, remember that one time you had, Jesus Christ. Remember that one time
good luck, babes.
You had,
good luck, babes.
You had, who was it? It wasn't Aloha.
Aloha Wonderwell.
When it was, they were born on...
Wonderwell.
Jean
de Clusson.
Yeah, because you always knew their age.
Yes.
Yeah, so this is the same thing.
Such a good thing to get.
You just subtract 10, or you add 10 to the year, and that's their age.
Amazing.
So
when were they born?
1890.
Love it. Okay.
January 4th.
Love it.
Perfect. He was born in the Austria-Hungarian town of Hostine.
Okay.
It's now in the Czech Republic, but at the time, the Austria-Hungarian
fun.
Empire.
Okay, so he's Czech.
Yes. Victor would boast that his father was the burgomaster, which was the mayor of Hostine. However,
what's that McDonald's character? The burger thief? You know what I'm talking about? What's his name?
Are you thinking of Grimace? No.
The purple one.
I think.
The Hamburglar. There it is.
Oh, there it is, yeah.
Sorry. Burgermeister just got me.
Yeah. Burgomaster. We would later find out that this was not true. He is actually from a very, very poor family. And he would later claim, in more honesty, that he stole only to survive. Beginning in the early 1900s as a teenager, Victor progressed from a panhandler, which is essentially someone on the side of the street asking for money, to a pickpocketer, to a burglar, to a street hustler. He perfected every card trick, from palming, slipping cards from the deck, dealing from the bottom, and by the time he was an adult, he could, quote, make the deck of cards do everything but talk.
Hot again.
Literally, though.
He's great with his hands.
Yeah.
That reminds me, the children today found out I have a podcast.
Oh.
It's fine.
Okay.
I told them not to listen to it.
Oh my God. I did a photo shoot.
Sorry, friends. I know we're one paragraph in.
This story is really short. I did a photo shoot for a company called Colorado Threads.
Fun.
Yesterday? 2 days ago? I don't know. But the photographer was testing her camera out, and it was just me and one of the other models. There was two. She was just adjusting her camera for the light, and she was like, "So Maia, I saw that you have a podcast," and I was like, "God damn it." Yeah. And apparently she noticed that when she had reached out to me to ask if I would model for this, or I had reached out to her, she had noticed that we had a mutual, and so she had reached out to this mutual follower that we had. asking, like, have you worked with this model? Is she like good?
Yeah.
And the photographer was like, oh, I haven't worked with her. She has a podcast I really like. And I was like, that's so sweet. And
that's
then
such a good endorsement.
I know. But then after that, she was trying to get all the models to like be comfortable with each other because we had to act like best friends, you know? And
Right.
she was like, let's like, this might sound cheesy, but let's all tell something that like not a lot of people know, or not like a secret, or like
Right.
something you don't tell right away. And I was like, well, mine is that I have a podcast.
Right.
I usually don't say that right away. And she was like, oh, sorry. And I was like, no, it's
Yeah,
fine.
no, it's fine. It's just that's a part of my life to like to keep separate.
Yeah. It's fine. It's fine. I'm fine.
Okay, so
Okay.
he's good with his hands.
He's good with
and
his
he's
hands.
poor,
And he's poor.
and he's a liar.
Yes.
Is this someone I've dated?
So he.
I want you to know the only thing that wasn't bad about that was that he was a liar.
Yeah. So Victor is not just street smart, but he also did well in school and got a spot in a very prestigious German boarding school where he became fluent
Do you ever hear John Mulaney go street smarts whenever
the
you say
time.
street smarts?
every
Is
time.
it? Do you make a conscious choice to say it when you have the opportunity?
Yes.
Because I kind of do.
Street smarts.
Yes.
JJ Bittenbinder. Yeah.
Street smarts.
You're all gonna die. Street smarts.
No, I'm like, ooh, am I a little warm? And I'm like, oh, it's the Chardonnay
Yeah.
we've been drinking. It's great. Kendall Jackson.
At this prestigious German boarding school, he became fluent in German, English, Italian, and French. When he was 16 in the year of
16. Oh, hold on. I can do this. Oh, 1906.
Yeah. 1906.
6 years before the Titanic sails and sinks. Go ahead.
He dropped out of school and cut ties with his family for unknown reasons.
Gay.
He, at this point, moves to Paris,
Ooh.
or like just in general France.
Boy,
but
do I feel proven correct with that next sentence.
Yeah.
Also, friends, I'm sorry. Sometimes Maya and I sit down and we do try to just create like a great quality listening experience for you because we're professionals. But sometimes we just miss each other and it's like, I just kind of want to be weird around you for a
I
little
was
bit.
like, it took me like a week, and I was like, I haven't heard from Grant in a while.
Hey, remember that time I texted you, hey, I miss you? And you were like, that's so dumb. Of course you miss me.
Yeah,
Here
but
you
you were
go.
the one doing things, and I was alone. It's fine.
Like, literally just gotten married.
Yeah. Yeah, I know.
And I'm alone.
The lady who was doing the photo shoot
I
was
knew
like,
it.
the lady who was doing the photo shoot was like, and you have a podcast with your husband? And I just went, ha! And she was like,
He doesn't wish. Jack actively avoids.
and I was like, no, he's very gay. Anyway, so he moves to Paris, I think to become an artist. It's a little unclear. But in order to support whatever he was doing, he does start doing some petty theft. And then he realizes that there's
He's
some...
being gay. He's doing crime.
And he's about to eat some hot chip.
And charging probably a phone.
Yeah, I would hope so. And so he realizes that there's more money to be had in some low-level crime.
Okay.
So he starts some gambling cons. He attends all the gambling dens in Paris. He studies poker, bridge, and billiards, and very quickly becomes one of the best amateur billiards players in the city.
Okay.
In 1909, when Lustig was
1909.
yeah.
So when he's 19.
Yeah. He was on a winning streak at one of these gambling dens and got a little overconfident. And so he starts hitting on another player's girlfriend.
Nice.
And then that other player starts noticing, and that the other player gets a little mad and swings a knife at him
Nice. Sure.
and misses his throat. However, does cut him on the left side of his face from his temple to the corner of his mouth on that side.
See, the years before World War I, it just kind of feels like everyone was like doing really hard drugs and like drinking absinthe and like, you know, getting into knife fights. And everyone was like, that's empire for you, baby. And all up from here. Let me get my jalopy, you know, or whatever. And then, you know,
That's
Titanic
hip-hop.
and World War. That is hip hop.
That is hip hop.
You've always said that.
I've always said
And
that.
you've always said
yeah.
that.
So he gets a 2.5
I've
inch
missed you.
scar.
No one
I've
gets me
missed-
like
I-
you do.
I know.
I know you just got married, but like no one gets me like you do.
I know. Did you see on the Discord, Casey changed his
Yes,
username?
to ex-fiance.
He changed it to ex-boyfriend.
Even better.
I was like, what's wrong with you?
You know what's wrong with me? I want fried chicken tonight, and that's like such an inappropriate thing to want to get at 11 p.m.
But I support him.
Thank you.
Yeah. I'm never going to say no.
And that's why I can't come to you when I'm spiraling.
Because we will order so much Subway on DoorDash.
Literally, a kid came in today that I knew had a panic attack earlier.
Oh, no.
And I saw them with a Subway sandwich. And I had to be like, hey, kiddo.
How you doing?
Wow. Chipotle and Subway. Huh?
You good?
And then they said something even sadder than, yeah, I was in the mood for Subway.
Oh,
They
no.
said, well, my friend was going to throw this sandwich away. And I have this thing about food waste. So I said, I'll take it. So I wanted to be like, you're eating someone else's half-eaten Subway sandwich? But I didn't
I'm proud of you.
because I care about the world. But I was like, ew, yikes. That's like the epitome of not doing well.
Don't tell that kid because that kid doesn't know yet.
And it's like it's like beautifully unwrapped, but then it's just gray in the center. Like the kid ordered like chicken breast and mayo, end of ingredients. It's just the grayest sandwich you have ever seen. And I'm just like, I'm not here to. I'm not
It wasn't worth it.
I don't think that's gonna make you feel better. Do not think that's gonna make you feel better. Hold on, get back to Victor. He has a new wicked little. Wait, hold on. A scar from his mouth to his ear. Is he the Joker?
No, from his like left temple to like around the corner of his mouth.
You know,
on
Tina
the
Fey
left
has
side.
a scar like that.
What?
Yeah, Tina Fey has a scar like that.
Oh, she does.
Yeah.
It always surprises me when I think about that scar because when I think of Tina Fey, I don't think of that.
Good.
Okay. Anyway, so he gets a 2.5-inch scar that would become his most defining characteristic from this encounter when he was 19. At this point, Victor is like, maybe I've run one too many gambling cons. Maybe I've become a little overconfident. Maybe it's time for a new setting. Maybe Paris has run its course.
Okay.
So if you were a wannabe con artist,
Right.
and you're currently in Paris and need somewhere new to go.
London.
Is that your guess?
Do I get the perks of my history degree or no?
I don't think your history degree will help you.
Okay, because I think I'd go to like Berlin or Prague.
He chooses ocean liners, so there's a very real possibility he could have been on the Titanic. I don't think he was.
As like an attendant? Is he like working on them?
No, he goes as a full-on like tenant, like a guest.
And plans on just making his keep in the billiards room and stuff.
Basically.
Oh.
Yeah. His first place of business, if you will, was transatlantic ships, mostly the ones sailing from France to New York.
Right.
These ocean liners are flush with newly rich individuals who oftentimes are looking for a way to flaunt their wealth.
Right.
He decides to go into a new era and therefore needs a bit of rebranding. So this is the time he starts going by Count Victor Lustig.
Yeah, you got to have a made-up title. That's why I'm getting a master's degree.
He goes by Count Victor Lustig and starts telling people he comes from a long line of European aristocracy.
Well, who doesn't?
Yeah, and that he has like European castles and all this stuff. The Count would spend the long journey on these ocean liners, gambling with these people, and he would sometimes allow them to win money. He would win some small amounts of money during the bulk of the trip, and every time he would win, he would always be like, "Oh my god, that's so crazy that I just won."
What?
He was like, "Well, you have so much time to win all your money back, so like don't even worry about it." And then he would save his biggest win for right before the ocean liner docked, so that he could like take all of their money and then
leave.
dip.
Hell yeah.
At some point, he begins to realize that there's a very familiar face on a lot of these ocean liner trips that he's on.
Okay.
And he's like, what is this guy's deal?
Oh, so it's not the unseekable Molly Brown.
No, it's not.
She's in Denver.
Yeah, exactly. Turns out there's another con artist on these ships with him.
Hold on. I love an enemies to lovers situation. And they have to kiss in the story. So if I need to walk away for a couple minutes for you to edit your notes, that's fine. Second, I'm not joking. Make them kiss, okay? Tyler and I will look at each other from across parties and just do this now to each other.
I love that.
Second.
Yeah.
Sorry, your face is so innocent when you say it.
Kiss.
Like Cindy Lou Who. Second, 3 more stories, but I'll limit myself to 1. I saw this insane story, and it was this woman who did all the math, and it was just cheaper for her to be on a cruise ship than it
I have
was
seen
in a
that.
retirement
Yeah.
home. And I'm like, that's gangster. That's so cool. And also, I mean, when the disease finally kills you years before you would have in another setting, think of all the savings. Because cruises are fun, and
Yeah.
also floating petri dishes. Have you ever done a cruise before?
They give me so much. I've been on like a day cruise. I've never been on a cruise.
You ever been at sea at night?
No.
I was 12 years old. That's it. I was 12 when I went on a Disney cruise.
No, that's okay. I don't really need that.
You're a lot like my brother in that way.
Yeah.
We showed him Titanic at too young of an age.
I think so.
And so we had to like convince him
That he's gonna be okay.
that there were enough lifeboats. Yeah, there are. Now the tough thing is now that I've aged out of the children category of women and children.
Yeah.
Although at 31, I'm just a little boy.
I'm just a baby.
I'm just a baby. That now I have to like stand in the like ready to die line. Because
Yeah.
I'm not joking, on cruise ships, they load the women and children first still. And like, we don't even know if those babies are going to grow up to be cool. You know, I have a
I
podcast.
am cool.
Yeah, exactly. Put together a great charcuterie board, right? You're going to lose that to the sea? Come on. I mean, I know, I actually can't say it because that's the wine talking. So I'm not going to. Okay, so he's on
Anyway.
this. Wait, hold on. He's falling in love or has an enemy.
Yeah, I don't think they're falling in love.
I'm going to write fanfic.
I am.
I'm going to write a Tumblr post about
Okay,
this too.
do it. I'll report on it.
How wild it is. Sorry. What happens to them?
So he realizes there's a familiar face, and they start to like, I don't know. They're like, "What are you doing?" And it's like Spider-Man pointing at himself, like, "What are you doing?" And his name is Nicky Arnstein. He's a German-born con artist who is slightly older than Victor is when they meet, and they start to share some tricks of the trade. They become fast friends.
I am going to write this into a book.
Okay.
100%.
Yeah,
This
as
setting
you
is
should,
perfect.
As you should. So Victor tended to run his gambling cons by sitting at a table and waiting for someone to approach him. Nicky, however, had a more methodical approach. He would take time waiting and watching before picking his mark. I'm going to use the word mark a lot. Mark is like con artist lingo of victim,
Right.
essentially. Is
Person you're targeting.
the person you're targeting who is going to be the victim of your con. So Nicky would take time waiting and watching before picking his mark. He was looking for, there's a couple things he was looking for. Someone who is very wealthy and 2, very eager to flaunt it and like prove themselves. Nicky would befriend the person without mentioning anything about gambling. So not even in the gambling den, not even at billiards, not at the card table, whatever. Eventually, he knew the mark would suggest a friendly card game.
Love it.
At this point, Nicky would play hard to get and just keep saying like, "No, I think I'm okay." And the guy would be like,
The
"Nah,
Midwest
come on."
reject requires at least 2 asks.
Yeah, exactly. And so the guy would be like, "Well, I want to play cards with you, and if you keep declining, I'm gonna think that I can win." You know. And so Nicky would just keep saying like, "No, I'm okay. Like, we don't need to do that." And then at some point, Nicky would come clean with them, in quotation marks, come clean, and say that he's a professional gambler, and that if they play, Nicky might clean him out, clean the mark out. And the mark at this point, if he picked the right mark, would want to prove that he could beat a career player.
So in a really cool way,
Yeah.
he's like,
He's like,
isn't
I'm
even
literally gonna clean house.
This isn't even a con at a certain point.
Yeah.
He's like, it's all up front. You can't accuse me of misleading you or anything. I mean, maybe at first, but before the money was on the table, you know that I've won stuff like this.
Yeah.
And he just used their own hubris against them. It's giving Cabin on the Left or Last House on the Left or whatever. It's a horror movie.
Yeah.
Where like the young people have to die in the cabin to like keep the universe balanced.
Right.
But they have all the signals beforehand that they shouldn't go. They don't get told directly, hey, this is like a sacrifice thing. But they're like, it's spooky. They lose cell phone service.
Yeah.
The road is rickety. And there's even an old man who's like, do not go up there. The last crew that did not come down. And so like that's the cabin owner's way of like cleaning their conscience. They're like, they had every opportunity to turn around and they still said yes. And I can't fix stupid. and it balances the world out.
And it's so this guy, I mean, we have to remember that Nicky was most definitely cheating in
Right,
some way
right,
to win.
duh.
But Nicky also was like, I'm gonna beat you, and I'm gonna beat you good.
Right.
So Nicky would continue to decline the games until the last night of the journey, at which point he would agree, and inevitably his mark would likely bet an outrageous sum, just as part of their hubris, sometimes up to $30,000.
Oh,
which is
back then?
400,000 today.
Yeah.
About, which is 2024, depending on what you're listening to this. So Victor learns a lot of important lessons from Nicky. Mainly that
how to love.
Yeah. How to love.
It's not
again.
happening one more time. Every
What?
time. No, the tough thing is we get such good, funny little bits, the two of us, and then I have no one else to give them to.
Those.
And I love you.
Yeah.
I think I am performing more regularly than you are.
Yes.
Because I've oftentimes said my job is 5 shows a day, 5 times a week, right? Like I'm constantly wanting to be like, pick love one more time.
Mine
time.
is like
But
that
no
one
gets
meeting
it.
a week where I prove I'm the personality hire.
And like I will sometimes just sit in the bathroom longer than I need to just because I know no one can bother me. And also because I found out recently the bathroom that I use, like the little individual staff bathroom, is towards the end of a hallway where people where students go to gossip. And I can hear it through the door.
That's amazing.
I haven't like lingered longer to hear it, but it's like, oh look, this is the soundtrack.
This is an opportunity.
Exactly. Sorry, so they're falling in love on this boat.
So Victor learns some things from Nicky, namely that marks are more likely to be tricked if he works to develop a relationship with them and encourage them to be desperate to prove themselves.
Can I ask real quick, if this is coming later, I get it. Do the cruise lines start to get suspicious?
No, not to my knowledge, although this is a good enough time as any to say this. A lot of the sources that talk about this Victor Lustig vary on when he did what cons.
Okay.
So depending on what source you look at, there's another con I'm going to talk about towards the very end that some people say he did on these cruise liners. And I think he probably just switched it up so frequently to avoid suspicion that I don't think any of the, or maybe
Cool.
he switched line like ships.
There's a bunch
or
of
whatever.
lines
Yeah.
going on. The
Yeah.
ships are big.
I don't think anyone
Yeah.
suspected him in terms of that. Okay, so I don't know why I wrote this down. He was 5'7" and 140 pounds.
So he's my type. 5'7" and 140 pounds.
Yeah.
So the average size man then,
Yeah.
and what gets derogatorily used, pocket-sized man today. 5'7", 140 pounds, that's fun. That's just a fun person to be
I
around.
think this was when that was brought up in whatever article I pulled that from, that he was like on the shorter side. Because that's like my height essentially.
You're not 5'7".
I'm 5'6".
Really?
Mhm.
Can you stand up for me real quick?
Can I stand up for you later? Why do I need to stand up for you now?
Feels like important context. I guess you are kind of short. How have I never noticed that? You have such a huge personality.
Okay. It's fine.
Sorry, none of that was an insult.
And I also
I mean, I don't know if it was a compliment
weigh like
for the record.
140 pounds.
Are you Victor Lustig? It's a long
He's
con.
on to me.
It's a 2-year-long
Yeah.
podcast con.
We haven't hit the 2-year mark.
You told me you needed my social security number to make me an employee.
Yeah.
You told me my mother's maiden name was Pretty. Wait, so you mean all of those countless uncompensated hours was just to commit small identity theft?
That would be literally insane of me.
I wrote you a poem about fish for your wedding, which is something I'm going to say for the rest of our lives.
I wrote you a fish for your wedding. I love that.
I can't be any more real with you. Wine's kicking in.
What? Okay.
It's like 8 a.m. for them,
That's
but it's the evening.
always insane
it's
to
the birth
me.
of the weekend for
Yeah.
us.
Also,
I found out recently people don't like to use the word birth in regular conversations.
I'm gonna cut you off.
We don't. I brought a second bottle.
I know.
We got the children. I'm like leaning in now. I'm really into this.
You're in.
We got the children cake on the last night of the trip.
I'm sure Lydia.
Kind of because Lydia was on
Yeah.
it. But also because it was like we used to at my old school do team dinner at least once. And that was when we were bringing like 6 kids.
And now there's too many kids. Yeah.
Now there's like 6 chaperones plus like the number of children. So like that's an unreasonable bill.
Yeah.
So sweet treat hour, and the kids gather. Oh, because it was non-optional, because it was also a team meeting.
I mean, fair.
Let me just talk about travel plans to get home and stuff. Where was the story? Nope.
Something about cake?
Yep. Right. So I was like, and so we got you all cake because it's kind of like a rebirth of the team and the program. And they were like, boo. And then one kid was like, it's giving Birth of a Nations vibes, which is a super racist movie from 1914. And I was like, you guys are too smart.
That's really fucked up of you to say.
Sweet treat hour it is then.
Yeah, Jesus.
Anyways, half of you are gluten intolerant. So here are the cupcakes. And then the chantilly cake.
Yeah, sure.
Did I get that word right?
I don't know, but I know what you mean.
Thank you.
Yeah.
They do too.
Cool.
Where were we? They were on a
he's
boat.
on the ocean liners.
Yes.
He's conning alongside Nicky Arnstein. However, in 1914, World War I breaks out, and transatlantic travel.
And he's how old, Maia?
24.
Good. What was that? What was that?
I don't know. I'm going to keep going, though.
Please.
Okay. Transatlantic travel is no longer a possibility. So at 24,
What side of the pond does he get trapped on?
I don't know if he gets trapped or if he just goes back to Paris.
Okay, so he's in France.
He goes to Paris. At this point, he's sustained for the next 5 years with the money that he made on those ocean liners.
Holy shit.
Yeah. And occasionally he would return to the gambling dens just for some extra like pocket money. You know?
Can I just say, too, that he really actually kind of did that right? Because he's an Austro-Hungarian citizen from Prague in Paris.
Yeah.
And so, like, Austria-Hungary, France, enemies in World War I.
Yeah.
But the French are mainly fighting the Germans. And so you're like not going to get drafted by the French, but you're in Paris, which in World War I never gets conquered. Right. And it is like a big den for like soldiers coming in and out for the front lines and stuff like that. He like really timed that well.
I do think there was like a lot of rationing though in Paris at this time.
Right. It's not all just hot soldiers in uniform. Sorry if I look like a fleck of dust. Also, rationing is the easiest way to save your money.
It's true.
Food is my number one expense because I love food.
So real. Same.
Yeah.
Okay. So he longs to
I'm like, I don't have an online shopping addiction, and it's the food. This is my online shopping addiction. Go ahead with your story. Get on with your bad self.
So he longs to get back to the U.S. because he enjoyed the company of Americans, and he also recognized that that's where a lot of the wealth was coming from at the time. So he's like,
we're good times. We're fun. We're fun as a culture.
Yeah. He's like, the money's over there, and as soon as this war ends, I am booking it.
Hells yes.
Back over there. So he does as he promised to himself. He ends up in New York City as soon as he possibly can in the midst of the Roaring 20s.
Hell yeah. Which also means prohibition. Which also means it's all just going to go underground, baby.
Literally my next sentence.
Oh,
that was good.
Great. Sorry.
Yeah.
I'm also like, is this just a Great Gatsby story now at this point? Is this the inspiration for Jay Gatsby?
No. I didn't even get into the like what he's inspired or what. I'm sure that he's inspired plenty of like movie characters and stuff like that.
And at least one Tumblr fan fiction.
At least one.
Coming December 2024.
There will be pup fish involved for no real reason. Okay, so...
It was small and delicate, like a pup fish out west. So easy to work in. So easy.
Perfect.
I'm a wordsmith.
So in the Roaring 20s, the American economy is thriving because it's the end of World War I. And prohibition is instilled, and so it's allowed the development of a lot of speakeasies and also allowed organized crime to thrive. At this point, he is reunited with our good friend Nicky Arnstein, who introduced him to a lot of his criminal contacts in New York City and Chicago.
Lovers.
Hot again.
Do you ever think they played strip poker?
I hope so. I hope so.
With their feelings. I don't know what that's.
I don't either, but I'm going to agree with you because I feel that. Okay, so Nicky at this point was working for a crime boss by the name of Arnold Rothstein. Arnold is now infamous for fixing the 1919 World Series.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
So
fastest way to not lose is to make sure you're going to win.
Make sure you're going to win. So Rothstein at this point was working to create a plan to steal securities from Wall Street. Specifically, he was looking to steal Liberty bonds. Grant.
Oh, yeah.
What are Liberty bonds?
It's bonds that we sold to the American public to help fund the war effort in World War I and then later in World War II. Americans give us a little bit of money now, and then the federal government pays you out.
Yeah, once you give the war bond or the Liberty bond back.
Yeah. It's kind of like a
like
investment in America.
Yeah.
Owning stock in America.
It's like
we don't really do it anymore because we don't have to pay for our wars, and that's super nice.
And also our military is like super funded. But since these...
Who needs universal health care when a top secret stealth fighter jet can fly over your high school football game? I raise the question.
He has a good point.
Also, that was actually insanely complex sentence to say under my current level of wine intake.
I'm impressed.
Thank you.
Yeah. So since these Liberty bonds are backed by the government, there's a guaranteed return, which is why this crime boss wanted them, because it's a guaranteed money for him. So Victor Lustig got involved in this with Arnold Rothstein and Nicky Arnstein, and together over 18 months, they stole $5 million in bonds, which is about $75 million today.
Good for them.
I know. The police...
Sorry, that's crime. That's not good. That's not good.
Unfortunately, the police... I'm not sure if they caught Rothstein. The police did catch Nicky Arnstein. Or Is that his name? It's not Arnstein. It's Arn...
Well,
jeez.
I mean...
It is Arnstein. Arnstein and Rothstein, yeah. The police did catch Nicky.
Maia.
Yes.
He had it coming. He had it coming. He only turned himself to blame. We were chorus.
Yeah. Yeah, we were. So the police catch Nicky Arnstein and send him to Leavenworth Prison. Don't play footsie with me.
Well, you moved away when I was adjusting, and that made me feel ugly. So
fair enough.
Sorry, we bumped feet for everyone who's listening to our audio media.
So the police catch Nicky. I'm going to get this sentence out. This is the last thing I freaking do.
Who had it coming.
Yes, who had it coming. And they send him to Leavenworth Prison.
I'm going to shut
up. At this point, Victor Lustig had already moved on, so he was like out of the picture.
Wow,
and
they
never
really
gets caught.
were gay.
Yeah.
Oh, you mean from the crime?
Yeah,
not from
crime.
Nicky.
Yeah. At this point, is this something I can say now? No, I'm gonna save that for the end. Okay. At this point, he does move on, and he specifically goes to the Midwest. In 1921, I saw one source said Salina, Kansas.
Oh, yeah, north central Kansas.
And a couple other sources said Missouri, so I'm not really sure where this happened.
Honestly, why are we even splitting that hair?
That's kind of what I said.
It's okay.
I saw like 3 sources that disagreed, and I was like, well, it happened somewhere over there. I'm sorry if you live there.
I'm not. As a person from Nebraska, I have opinions about both those regions that are justified.
So there's a farm in wherever it is that he goes. One of the sources, the one that said Salina, Kansas, says it was the Marston farm. It's unprofitable. It has gone into foreclosure, and so it's owned by the local bank.
We're about to get into the Dust Bowl, so that makes sense.
The bank can't find anyone to buy this farm, and so they're getting anxious because now they're just like holding on to the deed to this farm. Oh no,
what's going to happen to our country if our privately held financial institutions crumble?
Oh no. Yeah. So
it's okay. We'll learn this lesson once, and then we never need to learn this lesson again.
We never do it again.
It is a curse, the history education degree. It is a curse. It is a curse.
It is a curse.
I think I just touched Mo's eye.
It's okay. She's fine. I promise. So the bank is getting really anxious. They can't find anyone to take this farm off their hands. And then what's better than a European count coming in to save the day?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So the count comes in and explains to the bankers that he's interested in purchasing some property. Specifically, he's looking at the Marston farm, but he's explained...
Why? What reason did he give?
He's explained that his family lost all their money in the war, and he's looking for a fresh start in the U.S., and he wants to earn back his family wealth from working the land.
Okay.
Yeah, a sentence that I feel like
if I'm a banker,
I'm
like, that's a lie. Sign right here, sir.
Yeah. So he wants the Marston farm, and the bankers, when they're showing the farm to him, specifically only tell him all the good parts of the farm and have excuses for
Does he
why
have
it
stream
was
access? What's the water rights looking like? What's the tree line cover? Has it all been plowed up, or is there still some wild prairie grass?
The answer
Does
is
the farm
yes
come with
in
any
all of
head,
those.
any cattle?
I don't know. I don't think so.
I would have been such a good farmer in 1910.
Yeah,
Water doesn't follow the plow. Sorry, I'm sorry. I just love being back in the studio.
I know. So they have a bunch of excuses for why it went into foreclosure, and they're like, but listen, if you buy this, it'll be the most fertile land on the planet.
The one thing they didn't have was a European count.
Yeah, and so the count is like, I'm sold. And so he's like, I'll give you $22,000 in my Liberty bonds to buy this thing. And those Liberty bonds are real. Those are the bonds that was his cut from the job in New York City.
Sure.
And I think this is like the only case where you can use a Liberty bond as like a cash transaction when you're using it with a bank,
okay.
I believe. And so that $22,000 in Liberty bonds is a value of like $350,000 today-ish. So the bankers are like, hell yeah.
Sold.
Yeah, literally sold. So while finalizing the deal, or while starting to finalize the deal, the Count, Victor, is like, hey, I actually don't have a ton of startup money. So I have some more Liberty bonds. And what are the odds that like in this transaction, you can just give me that cash as some startup money to run this farm? Because I don't have any. And the bankers are like, yeah, like we want to give you this
farm to be successful.
Yeah. So we'll give you this. And so he says, yeah, I have those Liberty bonds back at the bank and no cash. That $10,000 of Liberty bonds is about $150,000 today.
Okay.
The banker agrees and says that, hey, I'll bring the cash over to your hotel when we sign like the final documents. And so he brings them over, and then the men have a drink to celebrate at the closing of the deal. And being so relieved, the banker maybe got a little too schwasty and did not check the contents of the briefcase with the bonds before he left.
So Victor has the cash.
Has $10,000.
And the bonds.
Not the $22,000 in Liberty bonds.
Not the initial first round, but the one that he was going to liquidate.
Mm-hmm.
So he gets both.
Yeah. I'm not sure if that other $10,000 in Liberty bonds was ever real or if it was like counterfeit or what. Anyway, he leaves with $10,000 and the deed to this farm. And so by the time the banker opens the briefcase, he realizes all of the Liberty bonds that were in there previously have now been exchanged for old newspapers.
That's so goofy. That's such a goofy,
literally
like
insane
plot reveal.
Yeah.
That's a Cartoon Network level reveal to push the story along. And our friend Victor's like, on a train to California, right? Like,
yeah. Oh, he's gone.
Yeah, 100%.
He's out.
He's like, I don't care about that dirt farm.
Yeah.
Like, I got what I wanted.
That I have the deed for some reason.
I just laundered money in Salina, Kansas.
Yes.
Nice. Good 100%. For him.
So by the time...
so the bank's like, okay, so to be clear, we still have the farm and even less money. Well, thank God the 1930s are a famously good time for banks. Or else we would be really screwed right now.
Okay. In 1923,
when he's 33, really entering the like prime of his, like the time where he's like hottest, smartest, most available.
Victor
Say
is
it back.
most available, hot and smart.
Hottest was what I wanted. I didn't need to confirm the available part. Hottest.
So Victor is traveling to Montreal, and I'm not sure how this encounter happened. Either he like saw this person from afar and was like, oh, that's a good mark, or he like met him briefly and was like, that's a good mark, or whatever. Anyway, he comes across this man, Linus Merton. Linus Merton is a elderly banker from Vermont, and Victor's like, this is a phenomenal mark. I'm going to use him. So now let's develop a nice little con to run on him. And so he's like, the first thing I need to do, I learned from Nicky, is to earn his trust and develop a relationship. So he hires a pickpocket.
Nicky, my mentor, my first love.
The one that got away. The Leavenworth prison.
The one I had locked up as I stole his share of the bonds.
Whoops.
Nicky.
So he
We'll always have Red Star Cruise Lines.
Victor hires a pickpocket to steal Linus Merton's wallet and bring it to him.
Okay.
So he has
King
the
ass
wallet.
order there.
Yeah. And he contacts Linus and says, "Hey, yo, I found your wallet, and I'm like, sure it's you, but I'm gonna need you to confirm all of the contents of the wallet before I hand it back to you." So he's earning Linus's trust by like not just offering the wallet to whoever or like not stealing it. And this allows him to be introduced as a trustworthy character. Linus is so grateful and he wants to show his appreciation, but Victor is like, "No, like I don't need any more friends, you know, like here's your wallet, but like deuces."
Right.
And then eventually he, after keep getting like prodded, like, "No, have dinner with us." And he's like, "No," "Have dinner with us." "Okay, like just this once." And so he has dinner with Linus's family. At the dinner,
Linus has a family at this point?
he's older. Yeah.
33.
Linus is a different character.
Oh,
yeah.
sorry.
Yeah. No, you're good.
Linus is like, "Thank you for looking at my wallet.
Yes.
You have dinner with us."
Victor is 33.
Victor's like, "No, I can't. No." "Well, if you insist."
"Well, if you insist."
Okay.
Yes. And so he has dinner with his family. At the dinner, Victor hints at his immense wealth, but never goes into too much detail.
Sure. There's a lot of dirt in Kansas.
Well, remember one of his commandments that I read at the beginning: never boast and let your importance be quietly obvious.
Right.
Yes. So, at some point, Linus is like, "Okay, like you've talked about all this wealth, and it's clear that you have all this wealth by the way you present yourself, the way you dress, everything.
You didn't care what was in my wallet.
You
You didn't need to steal."
Yeah. And you're only 33, so like, how did you get this wealthy?"
Right.
And Linus kind of like hems and haws and is like, "Oh, you know, it's like a family thing. You know, I'm like a really rich count from Europe and all this stuff." And then finally he's like, "Okay, you got me. I have a contact at the horse track. He'll tell me what horse will win the horse race before betting closes on the outside."
So here's how I do it. I lie.
Basically, this is actually a very common con, especially around this time, because wires were just becoming like a big thing.
Right.
But they're not like commonplace, right?
By wires, you mean you could like wire in an order?
Wire, like communication.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so the way that these cons would work is that they would have a con artist and then they would have someone in on the track. So the con artist is at the bookie place putting in the bet. And then their contact at the horse race will like let them know what horse wins the race in real time, with enough time for the con artist to place the bet on the winning horse before bets close.
Oh, so you're in like the gambling office in like Montreal.
Yeah.
And you're betting on what's happening down in Kentucky.
And you're getting
and
like
you're
a text
able to
essentially.
find. So like basically you can bet on the winner of a game 10 minutes before the game is actually called. But the game's already done.
Is already done.
Yeah, that feels like a huge hole.
Yes. This is actually where like things like The Wire come from.
Nice.
That's what it was called.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah. And so
because the results would come across the wire. Okay.
Yes. So after days of trying to get information from Victor finally told him about the bookie joint that he like goes to or helps run or whatever. And so he offers to take Linus with him to the bookie joint at one point. And so when Linus gets there, he's like an older guy.
Right.
And so he's like in complete awe of this bookie joint. There's like tellers there, there's gamblers placing bets, there's other employees, like it's a whole kind of like fiasco. And so he's sold. He's like, "Yeah, I like, let me do this with you. Like, this sounds like a really solid way to make money." Like, to be fair, it's just a hole in betting on horse races. Like, yes, it's not following the rules, but like,
right. Okay.
yeah,
okay.
you know? And so, little does Linus know, the entire bookie joint that Victor had just walked him through, every person, every telegraph, every single thing that was happening, the races that they were betting on, all fake.
Oh.
They were all actors, and it was all staged. It was essentially a stage play that he was able to walk Linus through.
And Victor's financing all of it. We're like, we're going to take every single penny out of this guy. But these races aren't real.
The races aren't real.
People who are, these are fake bets they're putting
fake
in.
horses, fake gamblers,
like,
fake tellers.
Because they're not watching the races. They don't have to like stage the races. They just have to stage the results.
Yes.
And he doesn't have to like like the money can be fake because you're just going up here like put 85 on blah blah blah, right?
Yeah.
And they're like sure thing, but like the actors are getting paid like their union wage.
Yes.
Love that.
Literally. And so Victor allows Linus to win some money on these over the course of however many days or something, using the fake bookie joint.
Okay.
And using Victor's insider info from the horse racetrack. And then eventually he's like, hey, there's like a really big race coming up that we know this one horse is probably going to win. And the odds are like stacked against this horse. So like you need to put a ton of money on this horse. And so far Linus has won a
decent amount.
Good amount
he
of cash.
feels good at calling horses.
Yes, exactly. And so he convinces Linus to bet $30,000 on one race that is like surefire to win him money. That is $500,000 today.
Christ.
And
it's $500,000.
And when the telegraph comes in of the results of the race, Victor puts on his like Oscar-winning actor facade and is like, "Oh my God, we bet on the wrong race."
What?
I am so sorry. Like we bet on the wrong race. And so like you just lost that money. And Linus just kind of goes like, "Oh, well, I guess I lost it fair and square."
What?
And walks away.
And walks out of Victor's life?
Yeah.
Good for Linus.
Never even knowing he had been conned.
I hope Linus like then went to a cafe with like, and it's that SpongeBob meme of like a steaming pot of coffee in front of him, and he's like, "Gotta change some of my ways." We've all had that moment. It happens in my all new 2021 Subaru Crosstrek. But like we've all had that moment where we're like, okay, hope we enjoyed that.
Yeah.
We can't do that again.
Yeah, literally. And so Victor closes up the whole fake bookie
Linus
joint.
just walks away. He's like, well,
That
Victor,
sucks.
it was weird being your friend. Bye.
Basically. So Victor closes up the whole fake bookie joint and is like on his way. My favorite part of this story is that Linus is like, "No, honey, like come see the bookie joint." It's just like an empty warehouse. And his wife is like, "Are you okay?"
Linus is like, "Is that my wallet?" It's just on the dirt, like in the dirt on the floor.
With a note that says, "Love you."
Exactly.
He's like, "Damn it." Okay.
XOXO. Gossip Girl.
Gossip Girl. Okay. Okay. The genius of this con, and lots of cons by Victor Lustig, is that he found the right marks as he had learned from Nicky Arnstein. And he had used cons that are morally dubious and not super legal, like this whole wire thing.
Right.
So that the mark can't really go to the authorities.
Okay, I have a hot take here, though.
Yeah.
Like, gambling is set up so you don't win.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you lose money gambling, regardless of how it happens,
Of the situation, yeah.
like that is actually what you agreed to.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like a Ponzi scheme.
Yeah.
Where you were promised like a product or a service or something, and then it's not there, and you were like rightfully duped by a service you thought you were buying.
Yeah.
You walked into a setting that you understood walking in.
You could
the odds
lose a
were
lot of money.
not good. Statistically, it works that
Like-
you are in a disadvantage.
Like gambling rings are in business.
Correct.
for a
Gambling rings
reason.
are in business and they exist and they make money because you're going to lose statistically.
Yeah.
And then those statistics were even worse for you. You just didn't know. Like, I actually don't feel bad for you at all. Go home to your wife and kids. Like, I don't know, you know. And also, on that note,
Yeah.
I don't want to see any more Sportsbook or FanDuel
Oh my
ads.
God.
I'm so tired
Unless
of them.
it's the one with Kevin Hart and is it LeBron?
Another 5'7", 140-pound man.
I feel like Kevin Hart's shorter.
Yeah, he's not that tall. That's exactly what I
Yeah.
was gonna say. Girl, you're getting mean like me. I was like, I'm just kidding. Kevin Hart's not 5'7".
Okay, one more thing and then we can take a quick break.
Because I want more wine.
Yes. An interesting
You can definitely
statistic.
tell me I love her. I'm talking to you now, listener. I love her so much. She could tell I was
Oh, I
getting
knew.
to like a crescendo so I could get more wine.
Yes, I remember that.
All
Okay,
right,
here's
so-
an interesting study from 2002 done by NW3C, which is like it's actually supposed to be NWCCC, but it's NW3C.
Ooh.
It's the National White Collar Crime Center. That says as of 2020, 2002, Jesus, only 7% of white-collar crime victims even go to authorities due to either shame or
Right.
like not understanding the legality. Of
Right, that
everything.
you have been duped.
Yeah.
Right.
Crazy.
Right. Which is why the number one theft in America, you know what it is? Wage theft. Your employer's taking money from you. Let the shoplifter get a Reese's Pieces.
It's not worth it.
I am the shoplifter.
And also, we'll be right back after Grant gets more wine with
But what's the
Victor
cliffhanger?
Lustig's biggest con.
Hell yeah.
Or at least my favorite con.
This has been a fun one so
yeah,
far.
it's really you're gonna fucking die at the end. I know it.
Oh, I have a lot of Patreon content.
Excellent.
Kind of like always. It's like, hey, if you need to go do something, that's fine. Hi, friends. You listen
Welcome
to the spooky house of scary dreams and self-actualization with several rats.
Yes, but it's also a pizza.
Do you know what I'm
forget
referencing?
The pizza of it all. No, I'm referencing.
Forget the pizza of it all.
From Jacob
Wait,
and
hold on.
I's
Why do I
time at
know
Meow
that?
Wolf, 'cause I told you about it when you came over on when was it, Tuesday? Because we were playing that
Jacob, I think
game.
we keep forgetting the pizza of it all. Yes.
Yeah, the Rat Kings. Okay. Welcome back, listeners.
Hi.
Grant and I just had a time on the couch with Casey.
Here's the thing. I sat down on their insanely comfortable couch.
So comfy.
And then there was suddenly like a glass, I brought it with me, a glass of wine in my hand, and like two dogs suddenly like touch starved.
Yeah.
And then Casey came out and we were like, oh, hey, stranger. And like, you know, we're just telling stories we can't share on the air. And then like 25 minutes in, Maia's like, do you want to get back to it? And I was like, oh, yes,
yeah,
absolutely.
we have a whole story to get back to.
I think it's clear. I'm loving the story so far, really enjoying it.
Okay, this next part of his con story.
I'm coming out. I'm going to keep wish casting it.
He doesn't. And there is a fact that I'm going to share at the end that will, I mean, not really prove that he's not gay, but
He was his second wife.
Okay. So for our reference, because you guys just came back from like a 30-second break and we just came back from a while sitting on the couch, he just did that bookie joint thing
Right.
with The Wire with
Right.
Linus Marston, I believe.
Main
Merton.
character name of House in the Cerulean Sea.
Yes, it's true, which I have definitely read.
Mm-hmm.
I've just decided that I'm not actually going to start reading it until we decide on a second date. 'Cause
Have
it
you
keeps
gotten
getting
caught
pushed
up,
back.
or are you just? I think you would like the whole book.
Oh, I know I will, because what I've read I've enjoyed.
Yes.
I just like have not had time.
Correct.
Yeah.
I am trying so hard to get myself to read one piece of fiction this year that's not specifically queer.
I'll
And
give
it's
you one.
really hard. No, I have two that I'm like excited to read.
I'll give you one that's the first book isn't queer and then it becomes queer in the second book.
I need
It's
to tell
really
you.
dark.
I
Yeah.
need
Yes.
to tell you
Yes.
this.
Yes. Oh God. Grant's had a lot of wine, guys. He becomes fun uncle. I become fun aunt. He
I
becomes
kind of
fun
think
uncle.
I'm always fun uncle, but this is the time where I'm like, let me tell you what your father did when he was in college. With that lady over there, known as your mom. So we're on some kind of public transportation on the East Coast. I think it's a train, like an Amtrak train.
Okay.
And some of my sophomores, again, we're all like kind of in the process of discovery, getting to know each other. And they go, Thomas, what kind of books do you read? What are you reading? Because they see me reading something right now. And I go, there are two specific genres of fiction that I read. And they go, is the first one gay? And I go, yes.
Yes.
And I go, but there's no way you're going to get the second one. So they talk to one of our assistant coaches who knows the answer.
Yeah.
And like kind of gives them hints and stuff. And like an hour later, they come to me and they go, Mister, it's bookstores? Your two genres of books that you like is queer and bookstores? And I go, I told you were never going to guess it. And it's like a ha-ha funny little moment that I have with these like two little future chaos bisexuals, you know? But for right now, they're just sophomores. And I go on living my life controlling this like village of people as we move through various transit agencies. Fast forward to the end, we're about to board the plane to fly home. And they come up and they go, Mister, look what I got. Are you proud of me? And it's a fiction book where two lesbians meet and one of them owns a bookstore.
Hell yeah.
And I think that's awesome. They go, do you want it? I go, no.
Because I'm not lesbian.
Right. They go, what? And I go, you picked. And I went, blah, blah, blah. They go, what? And I go, that's awesome. But
You
like,
think about it.
More specifically, that's like female loving female. And I love MLM. And they go, multi-level marketing schemes? And I go, really good. That's really good. You should always be skeptical of that. You are not your own girl boss. Male loving male.
That was really good.
I'm changing lives.
You
Or
really are.
probably more realistically, cementing some emerging patterns.
Chaos bisexual is now what I personally identify as.
Good.
All right. So, Victor Lustig.
Right. You said 3 words. And
No,
I was like,
I did.
That actually reminds me
Of how I
something.
love bookstores.
Okay, so there I am.
I'm going to cut.
I'm hearing it now.
Yeah.
You know it was said innocently.
Oh, I know. I do know. But I heard the other thing.
Okay, well, if you're cutting that, cut this too. Let me try this real quick.
Okay.
I need to calm the down.
It's gonna be okay.
I just told a joke that didn't get as many laughs as I think
wanted
it
it to,
deserved.
yeah.
And I'm like, I'll take this to the Supreme Court. I don't know what you can keep. I don't think you can keep any of that. And I'm sorry.
And we're coming
back
in. Jesus Christ.
And I'll take it all the way to the Supreme Court, but tell your story. Remember how like 2 hours ago you missed me?
I know, that's actually fucking insane that I said those words.
Okay, so Victor, where is he?
So he's just conned Linus. Right. And I'm sure there's things that have happened in between that with his bookie joint and everything. But he realizes like, maybe I should take a break from the United States. There's just too much opportunity here and maybe a few too many disgruntled marks. And so maybe I should like take a break. And so in 1925, he decides to go back to Paris, go home to where it all began. It's not actually his home, but it feels like where he goes back to all the time. So this next thing I'm going to talk about is a scam that he ran with his friend that he met, who is called, quote, Dapper Dan Collins. Remember when at the beginning I gave all of the ways that various news sources had described Count Victor Lustig?
Yes.
Yes. So the New York Times described Dapper Dan Collins as a former circus lion tamer.
Oh.
And death-defying...
Crazy, that means he probably was in the same room as Jumbo the elephant at some point.
Probably. I don't want to think about it. And...
Jumbo had a really good life up until the end.
Yeah. And death-defying bicycle rider.
And
Tyler.
Houdini. No, wait, hold on. What Dapper Dan? What if Dapper Dan connects this story to Jumbo to Houdini?
That would be crazy.
What if Dapper Dan owned the Silver Trumpets?
What
That's
if?
such a crazy
That's
sentence.
insane.
Especially for newer listeners. It exists in the context in all in which we have said and came before us.
Yes.
Thank you.
Listen to part 1 of
You think this
Smoke
episode
and
just
Mirrors.
fell out of a coconut tree?
And part 1 of Welcome to New York. Okay. So in Dapper Dan Collins' 20s, I've described a couple of different con artists to you. So Nicky Arnstein, his MO was kind of like to analyze all of his potential marks before choosing a mark. And that's kind of how Victor Lustig evolved into, but previous to that, his MO was kind of let his mark come to him. Dapper Dan Collins, his MO was a little bit more aggressive, for sure. One of his main cons that he had run in his 20s was catching married people cheating and shaking them down to keep their silence, to keep his silence. So that's just blackmail.
So queer coded.
To be clear. But Dapper Dan Collins was definitely more willing to be aggressive and maybe cause some violence. But he was a good assistant kind of to Victor Lustig. In May of 1925, Victor returns to Paris And he's kind of looking for what his next con is going to be. The gambling dens aren't really satisfying him anymore. Like, he can easily make money that way, but he's looking for a big, like,
He wants a challenge.
He wants a big con that's going to get him a lot of money so that he can just, like, live for a few years without having to run a con.
Right.
And so he takes up residence in the Hotel Crillon, which is, like, kind of an upscale hotel, and he just kind of gets reaccustomed to living in Paris. He's like reading the newspaper every morning. He's like going to his coffee shops, getting his, like, I don't know, baguette every day, whatever you do in
He's
Paris.
He's having a girls'
in the 20s.
Trip in Paris.
He's enjoying life. And in doing this, he learns about how the status of the Eiffel Tower. The Eiffel Tower is rusting in the 1920s, and it's leading to a lot of costly repairs for Paris. And maintenance on the cities, and maintenance for the city. And Parisians are divided on whether or not they should keep the Eiffel Tower. Because the Eiffel Tower, as you likely know, was built for
a World's Fair.
A World's Fair in
by the same man who helped design the Statue of Liberty.
Oh, yeah.
Listener, I want you to know, I've explored it. And then I forgot that I explored it, and I came back to it. And I then explored it a second time. A full-length episode, it just hasn't materialized for me. But I've explored it a couple times. Have you? Making that into an episode?
No.
The man who designed it all? Don't.
Okay.
Go on.
So it was built for the 1889.
Because it's mine. I hope that was clear. Because when it'll be me. Okay.
Because mine are the ones that I don't want you to take are all true crime. So you can have all the history ones. That's fine.
Hold my hand. Thank you.
Okay. So 1889. While we're here, I'm planning my next two-parter. I want you to know. It's gonna be a lot.
For the next episode?
Whenever I get around to another two-parter.
I don't know if I know what the next theme is. So if you want me to set you up, you can knock them down.
No, Jesus.
No.
Unless the theme that you pick like fits this thing.
That's what I'm saying. Do you want me to pick a theme that fits that theme?
No.
I can do that for you. I do it.
I'm gonna let it come organically like Patty Hearst, if that happens. Anyway, the Eiffel Tower.
I need you to keep saying words right
okay,
now.
was a structure that was built in
the series of wine-drunk, inappropriate
1889
jokes
for the
1 year before he was born.
Yeah, for the Paris Exposition. At the time that it was erected, it was only supposed to be kept up for 20 years. And so by 1925, it's been up for almost 2 decades longer than it was originally supposed to live, or a decade longer. And so Victor gets an idea. My note actually says, insert cartoon light bulb appearing over Victor's head. Bing! At this point, he's like, yeah, I got a really good idea for a con. And Dapper Dan Collins is like, I don't know what you're thinking, but like, sure, I'll fucking help. It seems like you're going to make a lot of money. So he commissions some official French government stationery with the official government seal, obviously from like a criminal underground
I think
thing.
it's kind of funny that like basically anyone could still do that like to this day.
Yeah.
Right? Be like, I'm the FBI. See?
Yeah. And so he
get your friend. This is such a bad idea, but I think it's great. And it feels very much like my no, I cannot, I signed an NDA excuse. Get a friend, buy an FBI windbreaker.
Badge. Yes.
No, just so I think the windbreaker.
Yeah, the windbreaker's fine.
Print out a warrant. At this point, you are now impersonating a police officer. That's a crime. Show up to your exes. Be like, we have a warrant to search this place. And actually, it's just your phone. And then hurt your own feelings.
Like, don't listen to that advice.
I'm at the start of my weekend. I'm full of nothing but bad ideas.
Yeah.
Do you want to go out later?
Yeah, sure.
Dope.
Okay, cool.
Dope.
He commissioned some stationery with the official French government seal with the fake title Deputy Director of the Ministère des Postes et Télégraphes. So what does that person do you think?
Post Office General.
Sure. It's a fake title. Doesn't exist. With enough of a bureaucratic sound and vague enough that no one knows what his job is.
Nice.
Which is genius,
yes,
actually. It is. Yeah. So he continues to stay at the Hotel de Crillon on the Place de la Concorde. I'm sorry, I'm butchering all of this. But so he's pretending to be a government official. From here, he writes 5 people at least. 5 people agree to meet him. And these 5 people are people like the top people in the scrap metal industry.
Okay.
And he invites them to the hotel for a meeting. He convinced them to come by saying it could be a very lucrative deal for you, but in exchange for you being allowed to even know about this deal, we need absolute secrecy from you.
Of course, obviously.
Of course, obviously. And so this is a quote. Because of the engineering faults, costly repairs, and the political problems I cannot discuss, the tearing down of the Eiffel Tower has become mandatory. This man is about to sell the Eiffel Tower.
That he does not own.
That he does not
He's
own.
about to sell a contract.
To tear down the Eiffel Tower and sell it for scrap metal.
And we can't talk about it because it's a really sensitive thing.
It's really sensitive.
We are going to destroy it.
Yeah.
And these people are like, yeah, all of this makes sense. I've been
sense.
wanting to get my hands on all that scrap metal.
And also, imagine how much you could
Wait.
sell scrap metal.
Did you find
from
this
the
guy
Eiffel
on like a
Tower.
TikTok or something? This is fantastic.
I found it from a listicle on BuzzFeed.
I love it. I love
Yeah.
it. We get so many great suggestions from listeners, and then every now and then, like,
I just literally stumbled upon this. Literally while I was sitting next to you watching the Huskers game.
Mary Shelley came from a listicle that featured Lord Byron, and I went down that rabbit hole. And much like the man who designed the Eiffel Tower, didn't feel like a whole story was there. But I was like, Mary Shelley,
I
what's
thought this
about?
wouldn't be a whole story, and then I found
Here we are.
a 2-part podcast series on it. It's
Look
amazing.
at us. Look at us.
We're killing it.
Look at us.
Yeah,
It's
look
that
at
Paul
us.
Rudd quote.
Look at us. Look at us.
Did we bring the wine down here?
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Okay, so the Eiffel Tower would be sold to the highest bidder. The Eiffel Tower has 7,000 tons of metal, which I did Google and fact check. That is true. 7,000 tons of metal. And so the bids came flowing. Essentially, this job is worth probably around 7 million francs at the time, which is
shit.
well over $100 million today.
Yeah.
Just like in what they could sell that metal for, like at face value for that metal, and also like selling probably commemorative things of like, hey, buy this piece of the Eiffel Tower.
Yeah. I mean, thank God
You know?
we put a lot of it into the medals for the Olympics of 2024. But yes.
Yeah, exactly. Whatever. So Victor really sold this con. He wined and dined potential candidates for this mark. He rented limos. He took them on tours of the tower.
I love that Victor understands the principle of you got to spend money to make money.
Yeah. He takes all of the people that are like in contest essentially for this bid to the Eiffel Tower to like tour it. And he even like goes so far as to show like a fake ID or a fake badge to like all the people working at the Eiffel Tower.
Nice.
And I don't even like imagine like a 16-year-old just working there. Like, I don't give a shit. Like, what are you doing flashing that to me?
Start working at a high school and realize how absolutely terrifying it is that so many young people are operating those rides. 100%.
Yes. And so what the people that he was giving all of the like wining and dining didn't know is that the amount that they were going to bid actually does not matter, because Victor had learned a really valuable lesson from Nicky, that you need to choose your mark wisely. So
Right.
he's looking for a mark who has a lot to prove, is maybe like new in town,
Nice.
is like
This is my big break.
yeah, is
$3, 2 bags, 1 Eiffel Tower.
who is also like maybe has a lot of a shame complex that will not be like even interested in pursuing any kind of legal thing once they realize what's gone down.
Oh.
Yeah, so
Dumb, rich, and too prideful to
too
share
prideful
with the
to
cops.
admit. Yes.
Hell yeah.
And he finds his mark.
Hell yeah. Who does he find?
He finds a man named Andre Poisson, who is new to the city, and he fit the bill for the perfect mark. So the amount of the bids does not matter. He was looking for someone too worried about their image to go to the cops right away. Victor baited Andre Poisson by telling him that Victor, he doesn't make a lot of money in his government job.
Little old me.
But this is
Grant Thomas.
But this is a really big job, and he wants to be able to prove to his boss that he's like good at his job. He's asking
I'm
for a
literally
bribe.
selling the Eiffel Tower.
He's asking for
but
a
I'm too
bribe.
poor.
One of the sources I saw said that one of the reasons Victor did this, asked for a bribe from Andre Poisson, is because his friend Dapper Dan Collins had said that Andre had been in contact with him the entire time, and Andre was starting to get cold feet and like was getting a little nervous about it. And so Victor was like, I'm gonna go one step further and ask him for a bribe.
It's that classic Benjamin Franklin strategy. If you want someone to like you, ask a favor of them.
Yeah.
And he's
Literally.
like, I just need the Declaration of Independence.
And so apparently it's very common for like French bureaucratic officials to ask for bribes around this time. And so Andre Poisson is like, well, that really solidifies that this
That's
guy's
how I know
legit.
he's legitimately working for the government.
Yeah,
He's
he doesn't
trying
make
to
a
rob
lot of
me.
money. Yeah. And so Poisson is like, I got you. I
love the idea of the French government working in the same way tipped workers in America work. It's like, our employer doesn't pay me a living wage because they understand I'm going to get a little bit from the customer. No, it's messed up. I mean, you know it's messed up, but it's like,
it's wild.
The French government's like, why would we give you more benefits?
We do that?
You're already getting bribes.
Yeah. Exactly.
It's part of your total compensation package. That and unlimited PTO. Not because it's a new age company, but because it's France.
And also because if you realize you're not getting enough PTO, maybe you'll go on strike. I don't know.
Remember those early days when we had so few followers? We knew if Tyler had listened to us or not.
Yeah, because we could see
track
on the map
how many French downloads there had been.
France was listening.
Listen, no one.
Look at that map again.
No one was happier when we got even like a small following than our friends in other countries who were under the gun when it came
because
to
they knew they were like the
downloading our
only person in Australia. Yeah.
Yes. When someone downloaded it in the Philippines and I was like, oh, there's my friend so-and-so.
Yeah.
He's listened to one episode, but only one episode.
When Tyler was like, I've listened to all of them, and I was like, that's actually
we
factually
have the
incorrect.
data. And it's like such a lovely little lie because you wanted us to know that he supported us. And I think, he wanted to want to be able to listen to all of them.
Yeah.
But he was like,
literally
no.
in school.
It's actually so funny. We put him through the absolute ringer because he then did start to listen, and we were like, if you loved us, you'd be a Patreon member. And then he tried to go halfsies with Lydia, and Lydia was like, I don't share literally anything. And then he became a Patreon member, and we were still Shania Twain. That doesn't impress me much.
It's true.
We love you, Tyler.
We love you. Andre Poisson.
Right, we're talking about the French.
Yeah, tries to buy the Eiffel Tower. So he agrees to pay Victor. This is wild to me. He agrees to, like, his official bid to the government is $20,000 in cash for the tower, for the scrap metal.
And when you say to the government, you mean to Victor,
No. So this $20,000 is actually to the government for the contract.
But their contract doesn't exist.
I know. He doesn't know that, though.
Okay.
That's the amount. He's like, hey, Victor.
So the bid he submits
is $20,000, but on the side he's like, Victor, I will give you $50,000.
$20,000 to the government, $50,000 to you.
Victor.
To Victor.
To make sure that he wins the bid.
Check count who owns land in Salina and very briefly ran a highly successful gambling house in Montreal.
Yes.
Who was famously once returned a man's wallet.
The sad thing about this is that Poisson mortgaged his villa to get all of this money.
It's sad until you say the word villa.
Yeah,
then it's
it's true.
Okay.
So he gives $70,000 to Victor Lustig, and in 1925, that is about $1.26 million in 2024.
Ooh.
Yeah. So Victor is like, "Yup, that sounds good."
Because Victor takes the government money and the bribe.
Oh yeah, all of it. And him and Dapper Dan Collins are like, perfect, amazing, and then they like dip.
You've won the bid.
You've won the bid. They
so
sign
then
all
I'm
this.
sure he's like, so when do we announce that I'm tearing it down? Like I got a crew ready to go?
I think they like drink a little and then they're like, well, you'll hear about it, or
you're
like,
on the end now. We'll see you tomorrow.
We'll see you tomorrow, and then they dip, and then they go back.
Do you think they made him buy the drinks, or did Victor pick up the celebratory drinks?
I hope he bought.
Spend money to make money. But the tough thing is because it's Andre who wins the bid. Mm-hmm. Like he's like probably starting to like upgrade his staff, maybe buy a couple new vehicles.
He's like,
right?
Don't worry, babe.
Now that he has it, we're like, you got to spend money to make money, babe, and we got to have the capacity for this.
So Victor and Dapper Dan Collins go back to Austria, which is Victor's hometown, her home country, and they wait for the story to break. That there's a manhunt for Victor.
What country did they go back to?
It says Austria. I'm assuming it's a Czech. I'm not sure. It just says they go.
Yeah. I'm assuming they go to Czechoslovakia, but maybe, do they go to Vienna?
Yes, they do go to Vienna. You're so right. Sorry, that was definitely a note that I had meant to like add here. They go to Vienna.
Because let me tell you this much.
I think they go to Vienna.
And
yeah.
I say this with love about my hometown.
Yeah.
But if it's like you got to go on the run, you can't stay in Denver anymore. You got to go back home. I'd be like, well, can I at least go to Chicago?
The closest.
Can I put me in the region?
Yeah. So they go back to Austria. They're using all their new money to like get the best drinks, get the best food, hang out with all the cool people.
Spending it fast because they're not going to have it for long.
Well, they're
me with my paycheck.
They know that the news is going to break soon, and soon there's going to be like an international manhunt,
Obviously.
essentially, for these guys.
I love
And so they
that.
have their like nose in the newspapers every morning, and so it doesn't break right away, and so they're like, okay, it's gonna break soon, but let's like live it up. So they wait, and they wait, and they wait, and eventually they realize they picked too good of a mark. Not too good of a mark. Andre was too shameful. He never announced it to anyone that he'd been duped out of
For over $1
$70
million in today's money.
Yep. Out of the embarrassment of admitting to falling for it, so he never mentions it.
Are they almost like disappointed that their like trick doesn't get publicized?
I think Dapper Dan Collins was like, I mean, we really lucked out, and Victor,
like literally best case scenario.
yeah, Victor is like, I mean,
There was more to it than that. It was more than just the money. It was the art.
I could do it again.
Oh, I could sell the Eiffel Tower again.
Run it back.
Oh my God. Okay, I'm going to tell you this story.
Yeah.
I'm trying to keep it quick.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that so much. So I'm transporting you back to college.
Okay.
2011 to 2015. It's a beautiful time. People have crappy smartphones. The summer after my freshman year of college, I interned in Washington, D.C.
Right.
for Nebraska's last Democratic senator. That was super cool. And then I followed that up the end of my sophomore year of college, working with this program called the Breakthrough Collaborative, which was a summer school program, but in Southern California, that helped students that would be first-generation college students or are maybe just first-generation Americans,
Right.
like close the achievement gap over the summer and like get to the schools of their dreams. And that was really cool. And I loved it because I taught during the day and then we just would hang out on like Doheny Beach at night and we just ate so much In-N-Out. And then in like November, I'm having this like anxiety because I'm like, I've had 2 great summers. What do I do now? How do I top it? And I ran it back and it was actually even better. Sorry, that felt way funnier or more interesting when I started
as
it.
you should.
Little Grant lore, but sorry, it was a great time. And the host family that kept me gave me a like little red, almost like farm truck to drive around.
Oh
in.
yeah. You told me about that truck. Yeah.
All the other kids who were college students who were working the program got put in these like mansions, and it's wonderful that these families opened up their homes, but I think a lot of these families viewed it as a tax write-off house sitter, right? They're like, they might throw a couple parties, but they won't steal the art.
Yeah.
And so we can just like, I mean, I had a lot of like coworkers or like college students, but coworkers who were completely alone for most of that summer. And I went home every night to like a family of 4 cooking dinner as I like pulled up in their like little puttering red truck.
Yeah.
I know it was a fantastic time. I loved every second of it. Run it back. If you can, steal from them twice.
Run it back. And that's exactly what Victor does.
Good.
He he goes back to Paris, and then he's going to try this whole thing again. So he goes to the Hotel de Crillon, and then he invites a different 5 people from the scrap metal industry. He does the whole thing again, writing on the French stationery for that fake office that he had created. He wines and dines them, gets limos, takes them on tours of the Eiffel Tower. All again.
It's so funny he has so many legitimate business contracts when he is then selling a fake business contract.
A fake business. However, one of the marks starts to realize that this might not be a real thing, and he goes to the police. And so Victor gets word of this from Dapper Dan Collins, who really has his ear to the ground, right? Like any good second does. And so Victor gets word of this, and he's like, well, it's been fun.
Jigs up.
Jigs up.
I'm glad I rode in those limos.
going back to the U.S.
100%.
Running
Leaves
back.
Dapper Dan in Vienna. Leaves all these broken-hearted scrap metal
Probably, yeah.
sellers in
Yeah.
Paris. I gotta get myself back to. Can I guess? Is it like Cleveland? Like, where does he go next?
I actually am not sure where he goes next.
Okay.
I'm about to talk about another scam that he runs, but I'm not sure if I think this
What was the title of the listicle where you got this guy from?
top 10 like crazy something. I don't know. It's linked in my sources.
Okay.
Wait. Okay. Funny events from history.
Good. Was this number 3? Can I do still number 4 through 10?
Not sure.
Okay.
Okay, so this is another scam that he ran. I think this might have also been with Dapper Dan Collins, but I'm not 100% sure on this. And this doesn't have a specific location. So
See,
I think
your 30s really is when you start to do your best work. Like, you understand your craft.
It's true.
Like, I really identify
I
with
think
this.
he ran this maybe on some ocean liners. He ran this, I think, a lot in the US. This scam is called the Romanian Money Box.
What?
Yes.
It feels like there should be a finger at the end of that, you know? Like, oh my God, it's a severed finger. You know what I mean?
Yeah. However, so this is the box itself is a small box fashioned from cedar wood. It has a lot of complex like rollers and dials on it,
Sure.
and 2 slits on either end. And so the way he would run this con is that he would talk up successful businessmen on ocean liners or wherever he would happen to meet them, and he would just develop a relationship with them. And eventually, conversation again would turn to how Victor obtained all of his wealth. And Victor, of course, again, hem and haw and be like, oh no, it's like it's family wealth.
I'm
you
modest.
know? And then eventually, reluctantly, he'd be like, well, I do have a bit of a secret. And they'd be like, tell us everything. And he
They like push his curls back.
Yeah,
They're
well,
like,
I have
tell me,
a bit of
Victor.
a secret.
I want to take you away from here.
It's like,
wanna take
I
you away from all this."
have a crazy invention, and it's one of a kind. And it allows me to duplicate any kind of money.
If you fall for that, you don't deserve your money. If you fall for that, you don't deserve any of your money.
That's what I think, but I also think it goes to show how charismatic and convincing Victor Lustig could be in that, like, how...
Because at best, most legitimate, he was like, okay, you want to know how I have all my money? I'm a forger. Like, I'm actively cheating.
I think he was doing, though, is not saying that he's forging, is saying that, like, maybe this is a government thing. Like, it's producing serial numbers that, like, make sense, or...
I'm a rogue treasury member?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. But anyway, he has this box, and he like is very reluctant. He's like, I'll let you see it operating, just like because you're curious. And so he shows his mark, like, hey, okay, this is a $100 bill, right? And so he puts it in the box. It takes 6 hours for the box to like run all of its chemical processing.
What?
Because
What?
yeah, it has a bunch of chemical
You
processing.
deserve to be poor. You deserve to be poor. What? Also, I don't mean like in general. I mean like if you're not going to safeguard your wealth like this, like
You also have
shouldn't
to remember,
have it.
especially on the ocean liners, it's like these people that are so desperate to prove their wealth that they're like so desperate to
And they have,
constantly be wealthy.
And they have like 3 weeks too to be like, well, let's think about it.
Especially on the ocean liners. And I think he was operating this in other places as well. And we'll talk about another time that he operates this. It's not on the ocean liners, but he does put an actual $100 bill in the machine. After 6 hours of, quote, chemical processing, he would extract 2 $100 bills, the original and the counterfeit. And the mark would then ask, like, hey, like, how can I get one of these?
Right,
you know?
right.
And Victor is like, well, like, I have actually, like, obtained enough. I don't actually use it that much anymore. So, like, I'd be willing to part with it
I'm
for the
wealthy
right money.
enough.
Yeah. For the
I
right
just want to sell
sum.
it.
But, like, I'm, like,
Rich people are stupid.
yeah.
Elon Musk is a prime example of that. Rich people are stupid.
Yes. And so oftentimes, especially if it's on these ocean liners, he'll make multiple marks bid against each other for
The money machine.
which again makes it more
desirable. Even if I'm dumb, JD Vance Chase over there.
Is dumber.
Right.
Yeah.
Don't know why I choose Republican vice president.
It's fine. So,
Chase Sapphire over there.
yeah.
And his friend American Express.
So oftentimes when he was operating this on the ocean liners, he'll wait till the end of the voyage to agree to part with it to whichever mark. Usually it was a minimum of $10,000 at the time, which is about $150,000 today, or sometimes 2 or 3x that much. Inside the machine, he would make sure that there are several $100 bills in there so that whenever the mark would run the machine, it would work maybe at least 1 or 2 times after the fact. And by the time there was no more counterfeit bills in the machine or genuine or whatever he was using in the machine, he would be long gone. And that was the con. That
so
was
he
the
would
Romanian
preload
money
it a
box.
little bit, sell it right before he got off the boat, and then you would never see him again.
Or if he's in the US, like do a similar thing where he would be like, anyway, that's for you. And then 6 hours later, he's gone. And so he's running a lot of these schemes. He's running the Romanian Money Box. He's probably maybe doing a few
It's
more of
called
the
the
bookies.
Romanian Money Box?
Yeah. But what I have
So these
is,
people bid
yeah.
on a box that has like 5 $100 bills in it, and they
Yeah.
spend like thousands of dollars getting
tens
it.
of thousands of dollars, yeah. So he's running all these different kinds of cons. Eventually he finds himself in Chicago, which is a really big center for underground crime, right? And
Are we still in the Prohibition era?
yes, we're in, well, kind of, yeah, we're
What's
in the
the year?
1930s.
Okay.
Yeah, so yes.
I think it might be ending. I
Yeah,
forget
it's,
when
it's definitely
it's
ending,
over.
but it's still,
Like all that crime now
the
exists.
mobs
and
and mafias
yeah,
are still really big. And when I say mafia,
Al Capone.
yes,
Yes.
he's big in Chicago.
Sure.
And Victor at this
Al Capone
point,
is or Victor is?
Al Capone.
Yes, he's very
Yeah,
much famous in Chicago.
Very, very,
Very,
big.
very famous.
Very, very famous. And so Victor is learning that any kind of like sus activity definitely gets reported to Al Capone in Chicago.
Right.
Right? Al Capone knows everything.
Right.
To cross Al Capone means certain death.
Right.
And what Victor hears is not like maybe avoid Al Capone. What Victor hears is, if I can beat Al Capone,
Oh,
I will have won it all.
I can retire. I can hang up my gloves. I can move back to that farm in Salina I somehow still own and really kind of make an honest go of it all.
And it's not even,
That's how all boxing movies
Yeah,
end. I know I've lived in the center of Philadelphia all my life.
but I want to move back to the farm.
Right, exactly. As soon as I win this last traumatic brain injury fight, I'm going to become a dairy farmer. And I say that not in just the dairy farmers. 2 of my relatives are, because I'm folksy and more of the earth than people give me credit. I mean, I'm drinking Chardonnay and sitting like this, but you know what I'm trying to say. It's just a lot of really hard work.
Yes.
Like,
It doesn't make sense for that to be your dream for
no,
retirement.
No,
yeah.
no. No one's like, do you know what I want to do after I'm done fighting in the ring? Fight every day of my life with cows.
Yes, cows are sweet, but a lot of them feel like a lot. So, Grant, what can you tell us about the culture of the 1930s with prohibition and gangsters?
I am just obsessed with your definition of a lot of cows feels like a lot.
I'm trying to bring it back to the story.
I know you
Grant.
are, and I can't let it go. I'm not going to say anything else, but I'm just going to chuckle for that for a second.
That's fine.
The culture
The 1930s.
of the 1930s.
Chicago, prohibition,
Yeah.
gangsters.
So prohibition creates an environment where gangs can thrive.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know the exact year off the top of my head. The wine certainly isn't helping. But it ends kind of by the 1930s, right? 1920s is really when sees like prohibition define the era. So you have organized crime that got its start with prohibition, but now the depression has occurred, right? And so like the ability to like do a man a favor or like a personal loan for a person who's like at wit's end trying to make ends meet, like means that there is definitely like this breeding ground for organized crime. And it's a huge deal. And I also think you get the Valentine's Day Massacre in Chicago around this time. You're starting to see real kind of like peaks of organized crime that will recede after the World War II in the 1940s.
Yeah, perfect.
Thanks.
That's all I wanted.
Can I get an A?
Yeah.
When are your office hours so I can come in and...
7 to midnight.
Hey, mister, sorry,
On
real quick. I
Mondays.
know you told me that your office hours are 7 to midnight. Is that every night or just on certain nights?
Mondays.
My mom wants to know when she needs to drop me off. So sorry for this email, Grant.
Bye, Grant.
Every single email I've gotten the last 2 weeks.
Mister, I got a concussion.
And Mister, I am concussed. Did I ever
So
tell you?
funny.
Okay, that's a reference to an email I got from a student.
Yeah.
I saw that child's parent. I'm going real anonymous
Yeah.
to tell you the story.
Is this okay to keep?
Yes.
Okay.
I saw that child's parents a couple of days later.
Yeah.
And I was like, hey, is name of child okay?
Yeah.
I know they got a concussion.
Oh, no.
And they go, well, they got hit pretty hard in their field hockey game. We don't think they're concussed. We think they didn't want to go to school the next day.
You know what? I can respect it.
You and I are the exact
Yeah.
same kind of teacher. And I want you to know that I respect both the kid being like, I'm going to use this.
Yeah.
And I respect the parents being like, oh no, we just raised a dramatic child.
Yeah. And that's why you have them.
Correct.
Yeah.
100%.
Okay.
No, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. They got a lot of shout outs at the
love
event
that.
that we had the other night. They're great. They're wonderful.
Okay.
And then at one point, I had to ask our varsity students to stop praising that child because there are 82 other children in the program.
Yeah.
Whew.
Okay.
Anyways,
Al
sorry.
Capone.
I'm getting real mad-eye moody right now with all this. I'm just kind of leaned in. I'm like, tell me more.
I love it.
Remember when I was not close enough to the mic?
I don't. No, I don't.
I haven't even remember that. I'm like eating it.
Al Capone.
Yeah, what about him?
What Victor is about to do is
Steal the Declaration of
thought of as basically a suicide mission by other con artists. But Victor approaches some of Al Capone's henchmen and is like, I have a business opportunity that I know Al Capone will be interested in investing in. And so eventually, after enough convincing, he gets a meeting with Al Capone. Whether or not that's Al Capone saying like, yeah, I won't meet with this guy, or the henchman being like, this guy has a business opportunity for you, I don't know. But Victor was presented this business opportunity saying that it was certain to have a high return, and he intentionally kept the business itself very vague and instead emphasized his own confidence in the business, because he had done a lot of studying of Al Capone prior to this, because he's learned from Nicky, right? He's in practice.
You gotta study your mark.
You gotta study your mark. You gotta know what is most likely to get through to them.
And to that I say, hot again.
Literally. But he's come to
He's like, Nicky, wherever you are, and by that I mean the
You're
New
in
York
prison.
State
Yeah.
Penitentiary, I am responsible for you being in right now. Bless up.
Bless up. So Victor has come to the conclusion that Al Capone does not invest in businesses. He invests in people. And so that's the reason that Victor was like, I am very confident in this business, instead of highlight, like, not Shark Tank, like,
Right.
everyone needs this product.
Right.
You know?
Right.
And so Al Capone ends the meeting by saying, like, okay, how much do you need? Essentially. And Victor is like, I need $50,000, which is about $1 million today.
Yep.
And that's a business proposition. After a bit of back and forth, Capone agrees to give him that, but says, you have to pay it back in full in 60 days.
Whoa.
Because he's so confident in the business that it's going to have a really great return. So
Sure.
you need to pay it back in 60 days. And Victor Lustig is like, yeah, abso-fucking-lutely.
I can do that.
It's an unspoken agreement, though, that Victor knows that, or Al Capone, everyone knows that if Victor does not pay this money back, Victor is
killed. Right.
dead.
Right.
Yeah. So 60 days is approaching. 60 days comes. 60 days goes by. And Al Capone is furious.
Right. He wants to know where his $1 million
He's like,
is.
hello.
Is it me you're looking for? I can see $1 million.
And this business opportunity that you said would be successful.
And I want to know, where are you? Singing podcast. Turns out it was just wine. We were missing wine. We got back to
wine.
singing.
Yeah.
So
So Victor is found by Al Capone's henchmen at a bar and is brought before
in
Al
Chicago.
Capone. I think so.
He didn't get out of town.
I don't think so. No.
You don't deserve your money, Victor. That's the first time I've turned against you.
So Al Capone is about to give the order to have Victor like
Right.
offed. And Victor pulls out several wads of cash from his like pocket and presents it to Al Capone. And he tells him, yo, the business deal that I had told you about that I had all this confidence in fell through. And I've actually been spending the last like 60 or so days scrambling to get any kind of return, to get this money, as much of the money back to you as possible. And so this is what I've come up with. And he gives back the full $50,000.
He gives it all back just with no interest earned.
Yep. And Al Capone is impressed because he's not used to this kind of honesty.
And he's a fighter.
He's like,
I don't know how Al Capone sounds.
But Al Capone is like, wow, like, I'm impressed that you got the money back to me, even though it wasn't like on time, but I'm impressed that you like admitted that you were wrong in this business investment and that you're willing to tell me that this business investment like went awry. And so he rewards Victor with $5,000, which is almost $100,000 today.
Yeah, it's a nice little bonus.
Yeah, to help him get back on his feet. And he gives Victor his blessing to operate his like shady con business or whatever he's doing.
You're a liar, but you don't lie to me.
And he gives his blessing to operate in Chicago. And as it turns out, that was Victor's plan the entire time.
So Victor borrows $50,000, doesn't touch it.
Literally puts it in a safe.
Puts it somewhere.
And waits
Shut up.
to get picked up by Al Capone's men.
That's such a gamble, though.
Right? But he gets it.
Jesus. He's like, I've loved 2 men in my life, sold the Eiffel Tower twice, ran a farm in Salina, Kansas, and for a brief period of time lived it up in Vienna.
Yeah.
Al Capone killing me is the only way it could go.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Right?
It's really hot.
Yeah. So he takes his $100,000 from Al Capone and he's like, Chicago it is, baby. And so he continues his little scam. His next stop is Havana, Cuba in the fall of 1926. He goes there with his, I don't know how he met her. Her name is Estelle Sweeney. Estelle is an aspiring actress who's moved to Hollywood from the Midwest. She is
So she's a failed actress.
I titled this section, "You're Gonna Be a Star."
Continue.
Yeah. Estelle has no experience, no connections, and no prospects. Say it with me.
I'm 27 years old.
I have no prospects.
No money and no prospects.
And
I'm already a burden to my parents.
And I'm frightened. Anyway.
Don't judge me, Lizzie. Just because he's short and a pastor doesn't mean he's not also wealthy and available.
Anyway.
Jane Austen was teaching us lessons, important lessons. Short kings deserve love too, as long as they inherit huge estates.
And have crazy things with their hands.
And love potatoes.
Yeah.
Wrong man. By the way.
Yeah, fair. You're right.
And it kills you that I'm right in this instance.
Yeah, it does. So Lustig,
I didn't realize how.
Oh my God.
Listener, dear listener, because most of you are just audio based, you haven't seen the mounting frustration on Maia's face the way I have. Every time she starts a story, I go, and she like shudders a little, like I've ever dared to hit her a day in her life. She just has like an instant reflex. And
Stop!
And I want her to remember the danger of missing me.
I know. I will never forget.
We're having a good time. I'm sorry. I'm having a good time.
I'm having a good time too.
I'm having a good time. I'm like, we should go to Trax or X-Bar or something.
I need to pet my stick. It has a name.
It's very soft.
It also, okay, I bought that from Meow Wolf.
Wow, its legs are so much longer than I thought it was.
I bought that from Meow Wolf, and the lady that was at the lady I bought that from, who was at the counter checking me out, like put the face of that stuffed animal like really in her face and like whispered something to it, and I want to know what secret that was. Yeah, and then she looked at me.
I'll never love you more than I will.
But then a lot of the employees at Meow Wolf are like in character, right?
Right.
And so I was like figuring she was just in character.
And unionized.
Yeah, but she looked at me and she was like, "Do you travel a lot?" And I was like travel like here, like in real life, or what?
I love you're like, do you mean like do I leave my house or do I like leave Denver?
Or are you talking about like this like convergence station? I was like, yeah, I travel a lot, and she was like, well, he likes to be like a neck pillow on like airplanes, and I was like, oh, okay.
Oh, she does.
Yeah.
They also call her in her tag a cow dragon.
And I love that.
What were we gonna say?
Okay. You keep cow dragon stick on you.
She's actually really comfortable.
It's nice, right? It's not too much.
That's terrible audio. That's such a visual cue.
Oh, it
for
is.
what
It
they
is.
need.
I'm sorry if you're only audio. Yeah, there you go. Okay. She might never stand again. balanced over your mother's cactus. Okay.
Go ahead.
So she's going, Victor Lustig is going to Havana, Cuba with Estelle Sweeney, our Midwest queen.
Right.
Who wants to be a Broadway star. Yes, literally. Lustig had told her, like, yo, if you come with me to Havana, I'm going to make you famous. And she's like, absolutely, I'll go to Havana. And so he sets her up in an upscale hotel and makes sure that word of him, Victor, being a Broadway producer makes its way around.
This is the plot of the movie and musical Producer.
Yes.
Okay.
Eventually,
Mr. Bialystok.
He's looking for a mark who's willing to invest in a Broadway production. And eventually he finds a mark.
In Havana?
Yeah.
Okay.
Some rich person who's on vacation. Okay. He finds that mark in Ronald Dodge, who is a wealthy businessman from Providence, Rhode Island. Ronald Dodge had always had inklings to be a creative professional, but had put that on to the side to make his business successful and make a lot of money, which he did. And now he's on vacation in Havana. So obviously his life is really hard.
It worked out.
Yeah. So Lustig lets Dodge approach him, as you do, and eventually Lustig admits that he's in the process of putting together another production, and Estelle is going to be the star. So he confides in Ronald how hard it is to put together a show. Like, it's a lot of money.
It's so much money before you make any money.
It's so much money that you have to put in, and he admits, like, I am already $50,000, like, in debt.
This man loves just a cool $1 million when it comes to taking care of anything. He's like, let's start at $1 million, go from there.
Go from there. So he says, I'm $50,000.
No, it's ingenious though, because if you bulk at at $1 million, he's like, I don't even want to deal with you.
You're not worth my time.
Listen, 20 years ago, I was shooting craps with people like you on cruise ships between Paris and New York. I'm not doing that anymore.
I'm not doing that anymore. I brought Estelle to Havana.
Right, exactly.
So he says he's $50,000 like in the hole. He's short, $50,000 short of his fundraising goal. And so Dodge is like, I will give you that money right now.
Wait, that's crazy. I brought that much cash to Havana just for vacation.
Literally right now. And Victor has a good action where he's like, I'm not going to take that from you. I'm not going to just like take that, because I feel like, side note, narrator, right? If he just takes that money, Ronald Dodge is going to be like, okay, like, and like, what's
the next step?
What's the next step, right? And so what Victor does is he says, like, I feel really bad taking that money from you. Also, the important thing here is I don't want to lose creative control of this show. So I'm only going to accept money from you that I can raise for my fundraising goal.
Right.
And he's short $50,000. So he's like, you're from Providence, Rhode Island. Give me like your contact information. I'll come meet you in Providence, Rhode Island once I have made a certain amount of money in my fundraising goal. So that whatever you contribute has to be equal or less than, so that I don't lose creative control of the show.
Interesting.
Yeah. And so Victor is going to take time to, quote, get the money together, and then he promises he's going to visit Ronald in Rhode Island to seal the deal. This tactic is actually a named tactic in the world of con artistry.
Oh, shut up, for reals?
Called the Tighten Up.
What?
So making the mark leave makes them more eager to invest in you out of concern that they've lost the opportunity to invest in you. And so Victor eventually does go visit Ronald, and he's raised.
Makes his way up there.
Making my way downtown. Like in the neighborhood.
Oh, what a charming villa.
That's crazy.
Hated that.
It was the doctor, I think. So Victor raises $36,000. And so he tells Ronald, like, yo, I raised $36,000. My fundraising goal was $50,000. And so Ronald gives him $34,000. Okay. So it's less than the $50,000. Still leaves Victor creative control.
$70,000.
Now they have just so much money. And so they Victor is like, this is phenomenal. I'm so glad to have you as like not a controlling partner, but as a partner in this show. So they're like, let's go to a speakeasy and talk like logistics of what's next. And Ronald is like, great, I'm going to organize a trip to New York City to like go visit the theater and see rehearsals in action and see Estelle. And Victor, at this point, they're like drinking. Victor receives an urgent telegram and like, he's like, hold on, I'm going to step out to respond to this. And 30 minutes later, Ronald is like, oh my God.
He's not coming back.
Yeah.
I gave him $750,000.
$34,000.
But $750
in that
today's
time,
money.
yes.
And he's not coming back.
And so Ronald is
you always feel like the loser in their prom dress. You know, you always feel like no one loves me.
No one loves me. And
not
so
that I've been conned before, but like you're like I can imagine Ronald's feelings in that moment.
And Ronald is like,
were you ever stood up for a date before ever?
I
don't think it happens.
Up.
Oh, you stood people up.
No, I never like let it get to like they're waiting.
They're at the restaurant.
Yeah.
Okay.
I would just ghost him before. Ask Casey.
They'd be like, "Hey, I'm on my way," and you just wouldn't respond.
No. It would be like before that. Like, hey, do you want to go to this restaurant at this time?
And you'd
then
be
I'd
like,
be
no.
Yeah.
You had no idea what song I was singing there.
No.
Okay, yeah. Oh, you just come
I
in
don't
at a
know
higher
what
pitch.
it is. What it's that
It's
from?
like X-Files.
Yeah. Okay. So Ronald is furious
After he's done being embarrassed.
Yeah, and he is not the shameful type.
Ooh, well, he's from Rhode Island.
So he goes,
hey, Rhode Island, you were mentioned. Sorry, it took us 2 years, and it was in this context. We love you, and one of my former students lives there now.
I also spent an entire summer there. I feel like we've definitely mentioned them.
We definitely have mentioned them.
Yeah.
Hey, Rhode Island. Go ahead.
So Ronald is furious. He goes to the cops, and he at this point determines, I am not going to give up until this man sees justice.
Naturally.
And so Victor at this point is like, and escapes to Paris.
I love how there's like no custom and border patrol.
No.
They're like, oh, welcome back, Victor.
Yeah, they're like, you've been gone a while.
Mind if I sell this Eiffel Tower a third time? Wait, for real?
No. So that was 1936.
So he is 46 years old at this point.
1937, he is
Dying.
47. He's been in Paris for like a year maybe, and he is just like itching to get back to the U.S. He's like, I need to get back to my farm and my cows and my Broadway production.
Kind of want to see if my girlfriend's still my girlfriend.
Oh, this is a side note, actually. Estelle, there was some sources that said that maybe Victor had implied that if someone were to invest in the show, Estelle would owe them favors.
She would sleep with him if you gave me $500,000.
It's not clear if anything ever happened to Estelle or where she went after this or any of that, but I want to mention that.
Okay.
That was, it could have been another reason that
Gotcha.
Estelle was brought along. But anyway, she's not mentioned again, so I don't really know what happens to her. In 1937, he's in Paris. He's like, I want to get back to the U.S., but he knows that if he goes back, he knows that Ronald is like out for blood,
and prowling for him.
Yeah, so he's like, he knows that as soon as he gets to like Ellis Island or New York or whatever, someone's gonna like catch his name and be like, this guy is there's a warrant for his arrest. And so he's like, how do I get back to the U.S. and like not have that happen? So what he does is he realizes there is a higher authority than the cops. It's the Secret Service.
I was like, is it Al Capone? Wait,
No,
what do you mean it's the Secret Service?
It's just a federal agency. Instead of the Providence, Rhode Island cops, it's just a federal agency. So it's the Secret Service. So he contacts the Secret
like for
Service.
The president?
At this point, I'm not sure if it's just like Secret Service or like FBI. That's the general vibe I got.
Okay.
So he's like, yo, Secret Service, FBI, I have information about these big criminals. The names, I don't know what they were, but like these are the names. Maybe it's like the guy he did the Liberty Bond thing with. Maybe it's Al Capone. Who knows? But he's like, if you meet with me on this ocean liner before we dock in New York City,
he loves a cruise.
Yeah, I will give you this information. And so the Secret Service agents meet him on the ocean liner before it docks in New York City, and so they meet him on the boat. They escort him past customs into an interrogation room.
Okay.
And then proceed to interrogate him for 6 hours.
Ooh.
During this time, Victor fails to give the agents a single piece of information that's of use.
Good for Victor. I want a lawyer.
No, not even that. For any criminal activity he knew about, he failed conveniently to remember any of the names or any of the details of the criminal activity.
Naturally.
For
Oh, but he's past customs at this point.
So any of the names he could remember, he then conveniently could remember any
You
dates
tricky,
or any
tricky girl.
of that.
You tricky girl.
And 6 hours later, the Secret Service are like, we legally can't keep you anymore because
Right.
we don't know. They don't know about the warrants out for his arrest. They don't know that he's committed any crimes.
They did zero research on him.
Yeah, and so they let him go on the other side of customs. He's free range again.
He takes some insane risks in his life.
Insane risks.
Best way to get around customs, Secret Service. Al Capone, make him a business partner. Insane.
Yeah. And so he does find himself getting caught more and more after this due to rumors probably about him, and maybe he's getting a little too confident, too cocky, too complacent. Between 1927 and 1928, he's arrested more than a dozen times.
Jeez.
And each of these times he's able to either
once a month
talk his way out, or prosecutors don't have enough evidence to hold him.
Nice.
Each of those times he escapes to Paris for like a little bit until the trail goes cold.
That's actually so much time on the ocean because I don't think he's flying over,
Which
he?
is confusing. I don't understand the timeline necessarily, but he does escape every
single time.
Every single time. For example, one of these times, December 11th, 1928, Victor's invited to Thomas Kern's home in Massachusetts to talk about a business opportunity. At this meeting, Victor sneaks upstairs and steals $16,000 from a drawer.
What?
I didn't do or like see how much that was today, but it's a lot. This kind of bold-faced theft is not Victor's MO, so it's a little unclear as to why he did this, but Kern's got the police, and I think this is one of the times where like they just didn't have enough evidence or whatever, or he escaped.
Me of that story. So Americans went to Paris for the Olympics.
Yeah.
And some of them experienced pickpocketing.
Yeah.
And then the pickpocketers experienced America.
Yeah.
And I'm not ever encouraging violence, but there was this one story of he was called like a Texan or whatever. I think that was probably more of a typecast than anything, but it was essentially like he got pickpocketed and then immediately caught the guy who pickpocketed him, got his wallet back, and then like pushed him down some stairs. And obviously the pickpocketers are hurt badly enough that he gets hospitalized. And the French police were like, well, we need to find this roid rage American. And he's on an American Airlines flight back to America. I think there was at least one American who had to flee France because of the way they assaulted a pickpocketer. Either that's true, or I read a story on like a social media page.
I would believe that though. That's so many pickpocketing in France.
And I want to point out, I think it's okay to read a story like that when you're like, I'm going to go ahead and say,
I just
you almost look proud of me for making that decision.
No, I didn't want to like leave you out.
I want a little bit of your tea later, from your automatic dispenser.
Chamomile?
Yes.
Yeah, sure.
Chamomile?
No, Jesus. Anyway.
So he gets away.
In 1928, he's in Paris again, probably like escaping something. Maybe he's like decided to be there for a little while. Essentially, he gets caught by Paris cops on a tip that was called into the Paris police, saying that he was selling counterfeit bonds of some kind. And so Victor, at this point, he's caught by the Paris police, and he's like, I actually was working with Al Capone, and I was never going to commit any crimes in France, so like, don't even worry about it. Right. I was just on my way to Germany, so just like,
let me go.
It's fine. I was not going to commit anything. And the Paris cops were like, that's all fine and good, but we're going to run that by the U.S. real quick.
Oh, interesting.
So they run it by the U.S. authorities. Through this whole channel of rumors and whatever, the word makes its way back to the Providence police. And so Ronald Dodge is like,
arrest him.
Get him now. And so the Providence police are like, you hold that man until we come and get him.
We're going to send our Providence police to Paris for 3 weeks. And at the end of it, they're going to grab him.
Yeah. And Ronald Dodge is like, I'm going to come personally to identify this man.
Find you and I will arrest you.
Yeah, exactly. Despite he's like not a police. Anyway. At this point, though, the only evidence they have, so they bring him back to the U.S. The only evidence they have is Ronald's word against Victor's word.
Okay.
Because if you think about the crime, it's all just like word
I took
of
money
mouth.
from him that he said
gave
he trusts
me.
me. Right,
Yeah.
exactly. Then reach into his wallet, he was like,
Yeah.
here you go, Victor. Here's money.
The money. And
Right.
I left. Like, I don't know what the problem is. And despite Ronald's feelings about this is not enough to hold him or keep him from applying for bail.
Okay.
So he applies for bail while the police are trying to find other witnesses and more solid evidence. During this time, Victor makes bail and bolts to the Mexican border.
Oh, shit. Okay, he's like, well, I can't go back to Paris.
Yes, so bye.
But I loved Cuba,
Yeah.
so let's do Central and South America.
Let's go there.
The year is what? 1937?
28.
1928.
Mm-hmm.
So he's not in his 40s, he's in his 30s.
So this is him in his 30s. I think I might have had the year wrong for when he was itching to get back to the US. That might have been.
So it's
27.
right before the stock market crashes.
Yeah. And so, yeah, because he does the whole thing in. So Al Capone might have actually been after this. What happened?
But we're back.
We're back. Sorry
And
if you
better
heard
than ever.
some random clicking for the last 5 minutes.
We got it solved.
We think.
Hooray. Let's hope.
Technology.
So he's making his way to the southern border of Mexico.
He's going to Mexico. He's actually in Texas.
Okay.
So I had said that the only evidence was Ronald's against Victor's. So he makes bail and makes it for the Mexican border. The Providence police chase him to Texas, but at this point, Victor gets a judge in Texas somehow to protect him.
What?
From harassment from the Providence police.
Well, Maia.
Trust
have the
love.
courage.
Again.
I traumatized you so many times.
You really
with that
did.
joke
I
that
don't
you
even
just
remember the
know it
lyrics.
now. Have
lyrics.
enough courage to
To
trust love one more time. Every time.
I just think again.
Yeah, by the end of that June episode, we absolutely were just saying whatever version.
Whatever
we
it happened.
It was mainly just a vocal fry.
Yeah.
So he has fallen in love with another powerful man who is like,
judge in Texas.
let me teach you a different way to cheat the law.
Yeah. And I'll protect you from harassment from
I
the Providence
love it.
police.
This is the future Ted Cruz wants to prevent.
The physical comedy, guys.
Good, thank you.
Come to YouTube. So March of 1929.
Yep.
Victor is caught, unfortunately, caught in possession of and selling fake bonds.
So he's cool, and no one likes that.
In Texas. Unfortunately for Victor, this is tangible evidence. And the entire thing with the Providence PD is that they were looking for evidence.
Like, it was like Dodge, that was his name?
Yeah, Dodge.
Dodge gave me money, and he now is disagreeing on the context of
about
it.
Yeah. And so now he's been found with tangible evidence, and he's like, this probably isn't good for me. I'm going to
And the Texas judge is like, listen, I'll always love you. But that's a federal crime, and I'm a state appellate judge, so I actually don't have any jurisdiction.
I can't help you with this.
Exactly.
So Victor is like, fine. And so he gets arrested and put in jail.
Sorry. Ever watch on HBO The Righteous Gemstones?
No.
But are you on TikTok too much? So are you familiar with the TikTok song, There Will Come a Payday,
Yes.
Hallelujah, what a payday. So that's from Little Baby Bobby from The Righteous Gemstones, which is so funny. And if you have any religious trauma at all, you have to watch The Righteous Gemstones. There are several performances on that show that I think are worthy of an Emmy nomination. They're so funny. I forget the name of the female comedian who plays the sister. It's so funny. But anyways, this entire episode about like stealing has just been Little Baby Bobby's song. And there will come a payday. Hallelujah, what a payday. There, like, listen, I don't know what this is the last comment. I'm sorry, I promise. I closed my eyes when Maia was taking care of like the whole tech issue, and I'm back.
He's ready.
I'm dialed in.
He's he's forgotten his
cute.
train of thought.
No, it's right there.
There will come a payday.
I mean, yeah. Oh,
Hallelujah.
that's what I was gonna say. Why does it always play when I'm in the bathroom? It's like I can be swiping on literally anything, and then I walk into the bathroom, and the next
There
one
will
come a payday.
Hallelujah.
And so it's definitely done that thing where it's like, oh, this is kind of a catchy audio. I'm gonna put this like down as you do.
Yeah, well, yeah.
We're all gross in the bathroom. Don't come for me, but you know what I mean.
Yes.
And so I have just heard that song. There will come a payday. Hallelujah, what a payday.
I love that.
Thanks. Singing podcast. Thank you.
So he's trying.
Right.
He's selling
right.
bonds in Texas.
Victor's been arrested. Right.
He's like get thrown in jail, and he's like, I somehow need to get out of this, and I don't know how because I'm actually in a cell.
And I am confident he's not about to be gunned down, which is why I have been this silly the entire time.
Oh yeah.
You keep me on my toes when I'm not sure if the person lives or dies horrifically.
Well, I mean, this is 1920, so
Right,
I mean, he will die eventually.
Correct.
But yeah. Okay, so
he's little baby Bobby.
Victor gets to know the sheriff and kind of gets close to him, you know, like gets to talking to him. And by using his commandments that I opened the episode with, soon enough, the sheriff opens up to him and tells him about, you know, his life, like how he became a sheriff, his, I assume, wife and kids and everything. And then also about his love of partying in New Orleans.
Ooh.
And Victor's like, tell me more about that right now.
Tell me what your thoughts are.
Give me 3 more paragraphs
if you like,
on that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You could be a teacher. Not at first, but I've been running my own teachers' college in this friend group.
It's
Absolutely,
true.
Absolutely, you could be.
So eventually that sheriff uncovers that he is funding his partying sprees by stealing money from the county treasury.
Ooh. Whoa.
And Victor is like, excellent. That's all I really needed to know.
Do you want to make an alliance with me?
Absolutely, I do.
Good, excellent,
Yes.
perfect,
Good,
perfect.
excellent. So
because I trusted love one more time. Every time.
So the sheriff at this point had stolen $25,000 from the county treasury. I didn't see how much that was in today's money, but it's
so
a lot.
much money.
Yeah. So Victor at this point tells the sheriff, he's like, you know what? Like, I mean, you've admitted to me that you're in debt, and I have a Romanian money box.
He works hard for his money, ba 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 ba, lying for his money, ba 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 ba. Let me go, and I'll show you a really, really weird time in New
Money
Orleans.
box.
Ba ba ba. We could write a musical.
I know that.
Okay.
Do you know that?
I'm learning it.
Okay. So he's like, I have a money box that will make you a bunch of money that'll get you out of this situation. You can replace all the money that you've stolen from the county treasury and you'll be scot-free.
I don't know if I can be a white gay who has a podcast and a musical. I'm like,
Grant, let me finish the goddamn story.
Am I Lin-Manuel Miranda? Like, I dare even ask the question.
Play any song from Hamilton and I will sing it right now. If you stop interrupting me.
Burr, burr, burr. It's from Wicked. Something has changed within me. Tell your story. What are you doing singing?
I swear to God.
And she missed me.
He tells the sheriff, hey, I have this money box and I'm willing to like potentially use it to help you out of this really tough situation because you and I have become really close friends. So here's where I put the money box. You bring it to me. I show you how to use it. And then you are scot-free, right? And so the sheriff does this. He uses the box and he uses the box to replicate a $1,000 bill for the sheriff. And the sheriff is like, you have to let me keep this because I'm not giving up my partying lifestyle and I need to use this to like get the county out of debt or whatever. What?
It's a Wicked reference.
Oh my God.
Because I knew you, I have been changed for good.
Not in a good way.
No, not in a good way. Okay.
So this guy...
this is the closest I've ever gotten to being muted ever. Go ahead.
I think I muted you multiple times on Jacob's episode. Okay. At this point, the sheriff's like, give me this money box. I need it. And Victor is like, okay, I'll give it to you for $10,000. In 2020 or 1929. And also my freedom.
Is his freedom worth $10,000?
Well, he gets $10,000 and his freedom.
Nice.
And so Victor gets let out.
Love a BOGO.
And gives his money box to the sheriff. And he escapes. 6 months later, the sheriff knocking on Victor's door with a gun, demanding his $10,000 back, since the box wasn't working anymore.
How is Victor not immediately getting out of these communities?
I'm assuming he was not like nearby. I think the sheriff had to like go find him.
Okay.
Yeah. Victor is like, okay, like calm down. You're
literally like yelling right now.
And you must not be using the box correctly. And I totally get it. It's really finicky. So like I'll come down and help you figure out whatever's wrong with it, because something's definitely wrong with it. And here's also $10,000 to hold you over until I can get down to Texas to help you.
So here's all your money back, and let me go fix this for you.
Yes. And so Victor's like, I'll meet you in Texas like right away. I'll be right behind you. And turns out that $10,000 was counterfeit. And so the sheriff was arrested several days after because he was caught using counterfeit money.
Tell the sheriff. I want him to know it was me.
Literally. Here is a quote from Agent Frank Seckler. I'm not sure who this is. I don't remember where I got this quote from. But, quote, Victor Lustig was a top man in the modern world of crime. He was the only one I ever heard of who swindled the law.
Oh, yeah.
This counterfeit cash, however, did catch the attention of the Secret Service. And if you remember,
I don't.
Victor Lustig already swindled the Secret Service by using
to get through customs to get back to America.
And so they're kind of like, I would do almost anything to see this guy embarrassed,
right? If
not caught, just embarrassed. And so, they sick one of their best men on it, another Secret Service agent, Peter A. Rubano, who was, quote, a heavy-set Italian-American with a double chin, sad eyes, and endless ambition.
Nice.
He made a name for himself by trapping the notorious...
And complex feelings about the Austro-Hungarian Empire.
Probably, yeah.
They went to war with each other, yeah.
So he made a name for himself, Peter A. Rubano, by trapping a notorious gangster, Ignazio the Wolf Lupo. I don't know what the story is with that. But anyway, he's like, I'm going to catch this guy. And so at this point, Victor Lustig has started a new con, and that is counterfeiting. And he's teamed up with William Watts, who is an engraver, who is the previous forger that used to work with Al Capone.
Oh, nice. Okay.
I think at this point, Al Capone's in prison.
Great circle,
Alcatraz.
though. Like, huge get.
Huge get. And he's also teamed up with a chemist named Tom Shore. And together, they all made counterfeit bills termed the Lustig-Watts notes. They were so good that they fooled most bank tellers. In order to even differentiate them, you needed experts to differentiate, not just like an average teller. So Watts would engrave these plates, these copper plates with the design of the bills needed. And then Tom Shore developed a solution that mirrored the chemicals used to produce American currency. And so that's why these bills were so hard to differentiate. They chose, either foolishly or bravely, to counterfeit $100 bills. They also did, I think, counterfeit other bills, but 100 seemed to be the main form of currency that they counterfeited. And these are bills that are historically like heavily scrutinized by tellers. And you can even see that if you live in America by the number of times that $100 bill has been changed, even in our lifetimes.
Right.
So the group became, quote, like some other government issuing money in rivalry with the United States Treasury, as a judge would later say. It was feared that the scheme this large would affect global confidence in the dollar, especially because this was like right when the Great Depression was ending.
Can you do the rest of the episode in that voice for me, please?
I don't think so. Okay, so...
What happens to this next guy?
I'll lose it really quick. I want a hot dog real bad. So... The group, William Watts, Tom Shore, and Victor Lustig, pushed more and more money out there and got
Right.
richer and richer in the process. In 1934 alone, $100,000 worth of counterfeit bills were being caught by the federal treasury every month.
Say that. How much money?
$100,000
Woo!
every month in 1 year.
Yikes.
Yeah. So
This is what they were catching.
yes, a squad of Secret Service were developed in 1934, the same year, to find these counterfeit plates. Because once they find the copper plates, like
shut the
the
whole
jig is
thing
kind
down.
of up.
Right,
They
right.
can't make any more money. So within a few weeks, they were able to trace the quality of the plates used to William Watts,
Right.
who at this point had gone underground. He's gone. So, I mean, he's made the plates. They don't need him
He
anymore.
made the plates. He took his cash. He got out.
He got out. And so at this point, they're looking for any connection. They know that he's connected to Al Capone, who's in, I think, jail at this point.
Right.
And there is a connection between Watts and Lustig. And so the Secret Service, even though they're not sure that Lustig is involved, they're like, remember that one time that he got us good in New York?
We could just arrest him anyways.
Just for funsies because
Right.
of this one connection. And like, remember how he used us? Like, let's get him back. And so at this point, Victor knows that people are after him. So he travels with a trunk of disguises. He had,
He should have been in the theater.
Grant, he had 47 known aliases.
Oh, shit.
At this point,
What are some of them?
the only one that I really know is Robert Miller, because that's
The
what he's
most
arrested
generic
as.
version.
Yes.
Okay.
He's traveling with a trunk of disguises that allow him to easily morph between a priest, a rabbi, a bellhop, etc.
Mrs. Doubtfire.
He's literally Dwight Schrute with all the wigs, like turning to the camera. So there's a bunch of different accounts as to how he was caught. One of them says he had a mistress who found out he was cheating on her with Tom Shore's mistress, which just feels like a lot of mistresses being mad about being mistresses.
Sure.
I don't know. Anyway, so they think, this theory says that she found out that the authorities were looking for him, and she was like, absolutely, you get that
I can
cheater.
tell you
Yeah,
where he is.
exactly. And so
I'd love to, actually.
there is another source that the Secret Service knew that Lustig was connected to a woman named Hannah Smith, who formerly owned a brothel in Pittsburgh, and that she had been connected to him. And so they found her in New York City in 1935 and tapped her phone and just were like listening, just like waiting, hoping,
Good. Yeah, good. Yeah,
hoping
good.
that he would contact her.
So
and-
if you care to find me,
Yes.
look to
The western skies.
sky.
Except this case, it's the
As
northeastern
someone
skies.
told- No, I'm kidding.
Me lately.
Everyone deserves
Serves a chance to fly. Yes. Eventually, the fall of
I'm sorry, friends.
1935, Victor Lustig did call Hannah Smith, and the FBI or Secret Service or whoever is listening.
Oh boy, we got him.
Yeah, and so Victor Lustig called to set up a meeting with her, and they caught him as he was leaving. So March 10th of 1935, Victor is arrested on a New York City street corner by a group that included Rubano, the guy that was like the Secret Service agent that
Right.
was like determined to catch him. Rubano is the one that led him away in handcuffs. They had been trailing him for 7 months and seemingly were unsure of his identity at first due to a new mustache that he had grown. What? When they had him surrounded.
Me when I get a beard trim.
Yeah. They're like,
Sorry if you don't
"Who
recognize
am
me.
I?"
It's still Grant. I know I look youthful now. It's Grant. Don't worry about it. It's me. It's me. I don't know even what that was a reference to.
I don't either, but it was beautiful.
Do you know what it was a reference to? Kendall Jackson Chardonnay.
Hell yeah, it was. So they've been trailing him for 7 months. They surround him, and when they surround him, he calmly hands over his suitcase he had with him. Agents expected the suitcase to be filled with some sort of criminal paraphernalia, but instead all they found was expensive clothing. And yeah, that's like the end of.
Where he just gets
Victor
arrested and they're like,
Lustig,
"We
and
got
that's
him."
like it.
He doesn't get like hit by a car and then drowned and then served a buffet of tinned fish with poison in it. Michael Malloy.
I know. I'm kidding you. It was his 47th arrest by the age of 45.
Oh, shucks. Okay.
And so if you think
So it's 1935 now.
if you think this is gonna get him,
Yeah, which I do.
He was questioned for 12 hours at this point.
You'll never get anything from me.
You'll never get
it.
And so he tries to cut a deal. He's like, you got me. You have.
Do you think part of his travel plans is like, well, so we'll get to the outskirts of New York, and then when I get arrested, that'll get us downtown, and then from there,
I can get to Paris.
Right, exactly.
Probably. I don't know. So he's questioned for 12 hours. Eventually, he's like, you clearly have all the evidence. There's no way I'm escaping this. Here, I'll let you know where the plates are. And so for some reason, Dapper Dan Collins is called in to like get a key. So there's two stories I heard. One is that he called Dapper Dan Collins and told him to get the key. Like Dan had the key. Or there's another story that they found a key in his coat that Victor was like, I have no idea where that goes to. And eventually he was like, okay. It actually goes to this locker in Times Square subway station. And that locker, one way or another, they have the key. It leads to this locker. And in this locker, they find $51,000 in counterfeit bills and the plates used to create those bills.
$51,000?
Yeah, in
just over $1 million.
Yes, probably. But the Secret Service is like, this man has conned us so many times. And they were like, these plates aren't real. These are not the Watts quality. And it turns out they were right. Victor had set up this locker just in case he had been caught so that he could be like...
It's a decoy locker in the subway station at Times Square.
Yes.
That's cool.
Yeah, I know, right? And so, unfortunately for Victor, they caught on to the scam, and so they're like, you just lied to us. So we're going to charge you with conspiracy and possession, and meanwhile, you're put away. We're going to continue to hunt for William Watts and the real plates.
Right.
So he's sentenced for trial in September. Trial is set to happen September 2nd, 1935. And they know that without the plates, they can't really charge him for his role in the counterfeiting. But so Victor's like furious with the agents. They're like, I gave you the plates. Right. I gave you the locker.
I did my bit.
I did my part. Like, just because you don't believe that those are the real ones, that's not my problem. I continued with this deal.
It's not my fault your guys' bill quality is bad and can be replicated with plates like that.
Exactly. And so, however... his argument's kind of like deflated because the flow of the counterfeit bills that they're worried about slows while he's in prison. And so they're like, okay.
It should stop because we have the plates, but we don't.
Yes. And so he's sentenced for trial September 2nd. September 1st, 1935. Guess what happens? It's the day before his trial.
Okay. Is he let out?
Almost. He tells the guards, he's like, yo. First of all, he's in the Federal Detention Center in Manhattan.
Okay.
He's like, I am not feeling well.
Isn't that where we put Trump for a little bit?
God, I hope.
I hope so too.
I think so. He's like, I'm not feeling well. I can't go out with the other prisoners for like exercise time or whatever.
Right. I'm nervous.
Yeah, please, like, can I stay in my cell? And they're like, yeah, of course. And so they leave him in his cell unguarded.
Nice, good.
Somehow he makes a friend with one of the guards and he gets a free spare key to his cell.
What?
I don't know how. He fashions a rope from bed sheets. And then he puts them through the bars and swings down from the window like some kind of Rapunzel ass.
Swing low,
sweet chariot. So he's like climbing down the side of this prison.
Of a prison in downtown Manhattan.
Yes. And he notices that people are starting to notice him. And so he's like,
I gotta speed this up.
No, he's like, I gotta keep it cool. So he pretends to be a window washer.
What? How?
And they believe it.
How?
So he just like, every time he notices people are watching him, he'll just like stop and like pretend to wash some windows. I don't know if he has.
He's
like,
climbing down past windows?
Yes.
That's crazier.
Well, all the other prisoners are at their exercise time or whatever, their outside time
but
or
like,
whatever.
what are these prisons doing with all these windows?
I don't know.
Okay.
So people start pointing and he like pulls out a cloth and pretends to be a window cleaner, and he's like a few stories from the ground, at which point the rope of sheets slips and like a lot of people on the ground are like like he's gonna die. And he plays it cool. He like catches himself on the bars of a window, continues to like pretend washing windows, and then he like gets to the ground and
almost lost my cool there.
And then bows to the audience and then sprints away, quote, like a deer.
So he's elegant. He's eleganza in his being.
Yeah. And so at some point, someone in the crowd is like, oh my God, that's a
Do you think
prison.
that was a prisoner?
Yeah. That's not a normal building. That's a prison that we just saw. And that man.
Did we all fall for a window washing pit right now?
So he goes up to the gates and he's like, I think someone just escaped. And so the cops or guards or whatever make it to his cell. And Grant, I'll hold your hand as I say this because you are not ready. They make it to his cell and they find a handwritten note from Victor Lustig.
See, gay.
The handwritten note is a quote from Victor Hugo's Les Mis.
It's a 4th episode.
That said, quote, he allowed himself to be led in a promise. Jean Valjean had his promise, even to a convict, especially to a convict. It may give the convict confidence and guide him on the right path. Law was not made by God, and man can be wrong.
He was sitting on that.
Yeah.
Tell me quickly, what's your story?
When I saw that, I was like, ah!
Grant's gonna eat this up, and so will Maddie in a couple months.
When she's stuck in Florida for some reason. He literally leaves a quote from another Victor.
To write a letter, gay. To write a letter using Les Mis, gay. To quote a character whose name is your name, so gay, it's actually almost straight. Like that, he's queer. He's loved men in his life. The one proof that he wasn't in love with men is that he used a woman in Havana to cheat a man from Rhode Island. That was coming up.
Yeah. So Victor escapes, leaving behind a quote from Jean Valjean and Victor Hugo in Les Mis. William Watts, during the time that Victor has escaped, William Watts is found in New Jersey. September 28th, 1935, in Pittsburgh, Victor is spotted ducking into a waiting car by FBI agent G.K. Firestone.
Good.
That's an insane
like the tire?
name. Who then gave the signal to the Pittsburgh Secret Service agent Fred Gruber, who then they together gave chase. 9 blocks, the vehicles rode neck and neck, but Victor's driver would not give up. So then the two agents rammed their car into his, locking the wheels together and causing everyone to crash together.
Right.
The agents pull out their weapons and throw the doors open. And according to the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, Victor said, quote, well, boys, here I am.
Good luck holding on to me.
You got me. So November...
I wanted to get back to New York anyways.
Yeah. November 1935, Victor was pulled before a New York judge. A journalist reportedly overheard a Secret Service agent tell him, quote, Count, you're the smoothest con man that ever existed.
Ah!
And Victor responds with...
That's so girl.
I know. And Victor responds with a smile, quote, I wouldn't say that. After all, you have conned me.
No, they just caught you.
Yeah.
They didn't trick you. They crashed a vehicle into your getaway.
You. December 5th, 1935, Watts and Victor go on trial, I think, together. By this time, there were 340,000 counterfeit bills.
Ooh,
dollars
worth
worth
like,
of counterfeit
we gotta
bills.
shut this down.
However, Watts cut a deal and testified against Victor.
Yeah, I'm sure that's the one they wanted.
Yeah. And so Victor was like, okay, you like actually got me this time. So he pleads guilty.
Okay.
At 45, he's sentenced to 15 years in prison for counterfeiting and an additional 5 years for his escape. He was sent to, what prison do you think?
Rikers?
Alcatraz.
Oh, shit. Okay.
Which is the same prison that Al Capone was sent to.
Yeah.
The real Machine Gun Kelly, who's a bank robber and a kidnapper, if you didn't know, and Roy Gardner, a train. I literally was like, who got sent to Alcatraz? Because this doesn't this man is dangerous, sure, but he's not
in New York, and they're gonna send him to San Francisco.
Yes. So I'm looking at a listicle again of dangerous individuals been sent to Alcatraz, and it's like Al Capone, the Machine Gun Kelly, Roy Gardner, who's a train robber, and then Robert Stroud. And so was making this list of famous criminals at Alcatraz and had to stop when I got to Robert Stroud because listen to this. This is a quote, a direct quote from this listicle.
Bunkmate for our man Victor.
Quote, Robert Stroud became famous when Hollywood made a movie called The Birdman of Alcatraz.
Mhm.
In this film, he's portrayed as a kind, gentle soul who raised birds in his cell. Actually, he never had birds in his cell at Alcatraz. He studied birds in his cell at Leavenworth Prison in Kansas, which is
Right.
where Nicky, what's-his-face was sent. While at Leavenworth, Stroud discovered a bird's nest with baby canaries and took the birds back to his cell to nurse them back to health. Prison authorities granted him permission to raise the birds in his cell. At one point, he had 300 of them
Oh.
living in cigar boxes.
Oh.
He created a makeshift lab.
That smells horrendous.
Oh my God, yeah. He created a makeshift lab to develop homemade medicines for them, which he sold through mail order. He also wrote 2 books about canaries. At Alcatraz, prisoners and guards feared and hated Robert Stroud. Attorney General Biddle said, quote, Stroud loves birds and hates men. When The Birdman of Alcatraz came out, many people begged for Stroud's release. When an officer asked him what he'd do if he were set free, Stroud replied that he had a list of people to kill.
Let me go. Let me go. I will murder 9 people. Or I can take care of parakeets
Or
on my
every
island.
single canary here.
If you don't want an an invasive bird species.
Why
in
did
your
you let
metropolitan
me
city.
here?
Exactly. So
Okay.
that's his like bunkmate or like someone at the prison with him.
Yes. So anyway, there's a lot of dangerous people at Alcatraz, and then there's Victor Lustig, who
Right.
like is dangerous, but like
For your wallet, not for your health.
yeah, so dangerous he destabilized the American economy, but like he's not gonna kill anyone.
I mean, who hasn't? We didn't arrest anyone on Wall Street for that, you know?
Exactly. Okay, so December 7th, 1946, cold weather begins to affect Victor. He's
Sure.
56 at this point. By this date, he had made 1,192 medical requests and had filled 507 prescriptions. Due to his ability to con people, the prison guards thought he was faking it as part of an escape plan. Medical reports read Lustig was, quote, inclined to magnify physical complaints and constantly complaining of real and imaginary ills.
He's a pain in the ass.
Eventually he was transferred to a medical facility in Springfield, Missouri, where they found that Victor was not faking it.
Oh.
And was suffering from complications related to pneumonia.
Oh.
And
Which will happen when you live in the middle of the San Francisco Bay.
Yeah, and he died on March 9th, 1947, due to pneumonia that no one believed he had.
57 years old, though. I mean,
57.
hard life.
Victor's family...
Imagine being born in the Czech Republic and dying in Springfield, Missouri.
Insane.
I know a lot of people have made that journey, but still wild to me.
Absolutely crazy. So Victor's family managed to keep the secret of his death for 2 years until August 31st, 1949. I don't know why. And also now's an important time to reference the fact that on November 3rd of 1919, when he was 29, he married a woman named Roberta Noret.
Oh.
His daughter... Yeah,
Oh.
his daughter
Okay.
would later write in her memoir that Victor raised his secret family lavishly using his ill-gotten gains. Anything not spent on his family, he spent gambling, and on his lover, Billy Mae Schliebel, owner of a different prostitution racket. So this is like something I found in one source, and then was like, maybe it was in a couple sources, but then it was like not mentioned in anywhere else talking
He has a
about
family,
his crimes.
but it's not what he's known for.
So I'm thinking that he like put his family on this farm that he had got the deed for.
Oh.
That's what I think happened.
He was like, perfect, they have a place to live.
Goodbye.
I'm out.
I'm going to Paris. So March of 2015, a historian from Hostine, Thomas Andal, began researching Victor because Victor was the town's most famous resident, but, quote, he must have attended school in Hostine. Andel reasoned in the Hostine Bulletin, yet he is not even mentioned in the list of pupils attending the local primary school. There is not a scrap of evidence that Victor was ever born in Hostine. On his death certificate in Missouri, a clerk wrote apprentice salesman as his occupation.
What?
And that's all we know about him.
Well, I mean, like, in addition to all of the crime.
Yes, but like apprentice salesman is insane.
He just has a hustle. He has a hustle that you don't see in America these days. And that's why they call it the Great Generation.
Everyone's too lazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Listicle, what was the little tidbit that like intrigued you into this man?
The man who sold the Eiffel Tower twice.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. And then it was like, oh, wait, he's like a Midwest boy at heart.
Sure.
Who was arrested in New York, got ill in San Francisco, and like all of us, died in Springfield, Missouri. Tale as old as time.
You're trying to sell the Eiffel Tower?
I mean, no, but I'm not
President
very...
Macron? Get him.
You did a wonderful job with that story.
Thank
You laid it out really well.
Thank
I
you,
also love
Barbie.
that you were ready to... Today's what? Thursday?
Yeah.
You were ready to do that story 48 hours ago, and then when we canceled, you were like, okay, well, I'll just keep doing more research then.
Yeah, if we had done it on Tuesday, I would have not had some of that information.
I'm
but
glad that we had it all.
I know. This is the problem. You can't give me more time
Mm.
because otherwise it'll end up a 5-hour episode or whatever this was. I don't remember.
Do you know what my issue is?
Hmm.
I laid with dogs.
You did. You've been rubbing your eyes for the
And now it's spread to
last-
the other one.
for the last while.
I did shut up because I realized I had been quite a yapper and I needed to let you
I was like,
build a narrative. I know. I was like, she has never really actually yelled at me, but we are getting pretty close. And then the good news is my eyes started to swell shut. So I was like, oh, just listen.
I can't see anything.
Wait, do I have my own little personal podcast right now? I love it.
Anyways, thank you for listening. I'm not sure if the camera lost
Died or
memory
not.
or something, but it's not showing me the screen anymore, so that's fun.
You can find us anywhere you get social media, where we are Well I Laughed Podcast. You can send in additional stories to welilaughedpod@gmail.com, and you can find additional content, including Patreon episodes, on Patreon, where we are Well I Laughed Podcast.
Okay, goodbye.
Bye.
Love you.